Welcome everyone to Comics from the Multiverse, episode 344. I am Peter, and joining me as always is Matt.
Hey, what's up?
This is a DC Comics podcast. We get together and we talk about the DC books of the week that we read. On this week's episode, we will be talking about various Lazarus Planet one-shots, because we did some catching up, kind of at least some of the issues, and so there's going to be a coalition of different stories from different issues that are some that are more relevant to things that are in the Solicits this week, which we'll get to in a bit. But we also have Batgirls issue 15, Matt read WildC.A.T.s issue 4, we have Danger Street issue 3, and we have Swamp Thing Green Hell issue 2. 75 years after issue 1 came out. So I reread issue 1 yesterday because there was no way I was going to remember a single word of it. So I was all refreshed.
I went in unrefreshed, and I still got the gist of it. So that said, I think I enjoyed issue 2 more than the first issue, but I don't remember the first issue that much. So
yeah, you can't say that with any degree of authority.
No, the feeling I had after reading this issue versus reading the first issue.
You don't remember what you felt after reading the first issue. Don't
pretend.
I do.
I remember going, "Wow, this is really good." Doug Mankhe draws a real good Swamp Thing. And after this, I went, "Wow, he draws some good monsters."
I question how well you're remembering this, but yeah. That's what's coming up on the show today. But not just that, though. That's the books, which wasn't a big list, obviously. Only about 5 books. But we do have Solicits to do, as I mentioned. We got the May Solicits, which do have a few new things in there as well. Some stuff that was previously announced, some stuff that was announced as well this week, but we'll just talk about them in the Solicits because we're going to go through them anyway. And we also have a trailer to talk about because at the Super Bowl last Sunday, they unveiled the big, full 3-minute trailer for The Flash. So we're also going to talk about that. So, yeah, there's lots to talk about this week on the show. So welcome, everyone. Get us on Twitter at DC Comics Podcast, although with Twitter's rules changing, we'll see how long we're still on there. But that's the current destination. And of course, you can join the Discord. There's a Mail Fuzz Instagram. There's all these things. You go look. Anyway, let's get into the first bit of business for the day. It's not the Flash trailer. It's not the Solicits. It's none of the books we read. Matt, do you have any idea what the first thing we are making time for this week?
It's the ComiXology top 10.
The despair in your voice fills me with...
Remember, it's an old bit. But numbers are stupid.
It fills me with energy. It's
that makes one of us.
It arouses something within me.
Don't say arouse and me in the same sentence, please.
I never said what it arouses. That's your mind going to places. It arouses my spirits.
Jeez. All right. So I think I have a guess for DC.
Okay, for Tuesday's books, yes. On you go.
Yep. I really want it to be Danger Street, but I don't think it is. I think it's Batman Beyond the White Knight.
Nope.
Ooh, all right.
You got a second guess?
Not particularly.
Well, number 1 is Lazarus Planet, whatever one that was this week. Let me just get the title properly.
Dark Fate number 1.
Yeah, Lazarus Planet Dark Fate. That's the thing. Don't play whatever your doohickey is next to the mic, Matt.
Yep, gotcha.
I can hear it.
Gotcha.
Number 2 is Batman Beyond the White Knight. Number 3 is Danger Street, so not too bad.
Yeah.
Number 4 is WildC.A.T.s, issue 4. Number 5 is Swamp Thing Green Hell. So, $7 book, and it's like 2 years after issue 1. Not too bad, all things considered. Number 6 is Icon and Hardware. Icon versus Hardware, I should say. Forgive me. Issue 1. Number 7 is Batman Incorporated. Number 8 is Batman The Adventures Continues. Number 9 is Batgirls. And number 10 is I Am Batman issue 18 with Batman Beyond New Year just missing out in the top 10. I also note here that they released a Batman Dark Knight Detective Volume 7 this week, which is the collection, I think, of detective comics after Crisis. So they're quite deep into that now, which is cool. So that's neat.
I don't see the Neo year on here on the Comic Geeks. I wonder what that was.
Oh, it's a trade. Sorry, Matt.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, okay. I didn't even realize it was a trade. I assume that finished because that was only a miniseries, I think.
Yeah. I tried to read it. I couldn't get into it. So, Batman Beyond is still near and dear to me, but just the first 2 issues didn't do much, so I gave up. But yeah, I didn't realize if it was still going. And
No, I was just me not noticing it was a trade rather than a single issue.
Gotcha.
That's basically it. Nothing too exciting. I mean, it was again a light week for DC books. I mean, I'm hoping that as we get these new books launching over the next few months, that week 1 and 2 of the month start to fill out a little bit more, because it's really weird and lopsided right now. And it's not it's not even just like the ones we were reading, because sometimes that happens where the books we don't like just all happen to fall in a week or two, so they're quite light for us. But I feel like even just when you look at these top 10s, it's like no, they don't have a lot of regular books out on these weeks. They've got a few, and then we're getting to kind of the Batman: The Adventure Continues. No shade on it, but it's it's a weirder book. It's not one of the mainline stuff. So
a bit more niche of a book.
Yeah, that's what we put it.
But yeah. Without Lazarus Planet this week, it would have been a real short week, but that was a big book. So, kind of patted him. Yeah,
it also helped add to reread Swamp Thing Green Hell issue 1. That made the week feel a bit bigger. So, that is the DC figures, or the DC ranking for Tuesday. But we'll always look at the Wednesday numbers though and see what the rest of the industry is looking like. Any guesses for what number 1 from the Wednesday books was?
I'm gonna guess X-Men 19.
No.
Whoa! No, there's probably an event that I just missed as I was scrolling. Maybe not. Is it a number 1?
It is a number 1.
So it's Nightcrawlers then.
It is Nightcrawlers, which is a tie-in to the Sinister thing, Sons of Sinister, whatever that event's called. But it's a 3-issue tie-in to that. This is issue 1 of that. That's number 1 by Cy Spurrier. Number 2 is X-Men issue 19, so you weren't too far off, but the guess. Number 3 is Wolverine, issue 30. And what's interesting is Nightcrawlers has Wolverine on the cover, so we've got 3 X-Men books, 1, 2, and 3. Cannot deny the X books are doing well, certainly amongst their own competition. Number 4 is Fantastic Four, issue 4. That's a lot of 4s back to back. Issue 4 of Fantastic Four at number 4. Number 5 is actually not a Marvel book. We have Nemesis Reloaded, issue 2. That's the Mark Miller. With Jorge Jimenez. That's why he's not in any DC books right now, I guess, because he's doing that.
Get that money.
And then we have Avengers Forever, issue 14 at number 6. We then have Marauders, but that's the Steve Orlando book. That's issue 11 at number 7. At number 8, we have Spider-Man, issue 5. That's the Dan Slott series. And then number 9 is Invincible Iron Man, issue 3. This is the Jerry Duggan series. And then number 10 is Hulk, issue 12, which is the Donny Cates Hulk series. Just missing out in the top 10 is the Captain Marvel 46, which is the Kelly Thompson book, which I've read the first couple of sort of trades worth of, and it was fun enough. Not one of my favourite of her books, but I will read it all at some point because I like her quite a bit. So that's cool to see. So there's still a bunch of Marvel books, but like they released a lot of books this week. So
a lot. Like I'm still scrolling, and there's still some popping up.
In fact, you have to go to number 16 to get the next non-Marvel book. I know there was one in the top 10, but the next one down's at 16, and that's Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. So but there you go. So very Marvel skewing week as far as what books came out, but very good. So that is the Comixology top 10, which we'll wrap up that, much to Matt's delight. Before we get to Solicits, I think it makes more sense to do Solicits before the comics because it will sort of lead in more naturally to that. So I think before that, we will dive in to talk about this trailer for The Flash, a movie that we have been pretty on the record of before of not being particularly thrilled in its existence for a number of factors. I'll just reiterate them very briefly. It's doing Flashpoint, which is a horrible idea for your first Flash movie. Ezra Miller has been miscast since day one. So forgetting all of their antics in the last couple of years, even before that I thought they were miscast. It's still connected quite heavily to the Snyderverse, which none of us are excited about. Yeah, so like just there's a lot of reasons to not be, for us to not be that excited about this. So, but we got a trailer. We kind of have to talk about it. We get our first look at Michael Keaton back in the Batsuit, the Supergirl stuff that's in there, but she's basically replaced Superman from Flashpoint. And it looks like she's been locked up, like Cal was in that, and then sort of ends up helping later on in the story. So that seems to be a case. There's 2 Barrys. Ben Affleck Batman's in there as well, and multiple different variations by the looks of it, because he's got like a blue cape at one point.
And the thing that got me was the 2 Barrys, because now it makes sense why they didn't replace him, because I'm sure there was a lot of, between the 2 Barrys, because there was talk about them trying to maybe, like I know there was a fan idea of replacing Ezra, and now I understand why that's a harder task than we thought.
They basically have to reshoot the whole movie. And I think the weird thing is that because it's a Flashpoint story, it doesn't take too much like tinkering at the end to just say, and this is what sets up the new universe that we now have going forward. Even though I think Aquaman 2 is still coming out after it, but that's, whatever. Just ignore that. Just ignore that. Honestly, like,
it doesn't look bad.
It doesn't look good either.
I mean, but like for as troubled as the production was, I was expecting it to look way worse, and especially after that poster, the Flash with the bat, stuff, and that just looked like a cheap poster. The movie doesn't look cheap. It looks like it's brighter than some of the other Snyderverse stuff.
I disagree with the cheap part. I think the CG looks terrible right now.
Yeah. Okay. To be fair, I watched the trailer on my phone, so. Had I watched it on the real screen, maybe we're having a different conversation.
Yeah, there's moments of Batman jumping around and stuff where he's a CG character. Same with Supergirl jumping around and flying, and they look like Agent Smith from Matrix Reloaded, pretty much.
Oh man, I have to watch this on my TV.
Yeah, I mean maybe I'm exaggerating a little bit, but they look really bad.
I mean, some of the motion blur stuff with Supergirl, yes, I could definitely see, but
and honestly, like when Michael Keaton shows up and they play the theme and he has this long pause before he says, "I'm Batman," it felt like fan service wankery to me. It felt really unnatural. And it felt like we're doing this. It doesn't
match the tone of where DC was, because this feels very tongue in cheek. And that doesn't match what we've had, I think, in the past before. Like the self-awareness. So
yeah, I guess
I didn't mind it. I mean,
but that's not really my problem in them. I mean, I don't like that, but necessarily. But my problem in the moment isn't that. My problem in the moment is that I'm so sick of multiverse stuff. Marvel's doing it with their stuff. I couldn't be less interested in their phases that's going on right now, because they're doing all this stuff that is like, you can do something interesting with multiverse stuff, and the comics have certainly done it in the past, and other movies that are just about a multiverse have done it. But No Way Home, like, it's like that was basically just a cheap excuse to have like the old Spider-Man back for nostalgia pops, and I can't help but watch this trailer and go, this is just cheap nostalgia. So people who care about, Michael Keaton Batman can feel excited about it and get giddy, and that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to like be of value in the story or feel like it's it feels a bit hollow to me.
Yeah.
And honestly, I've never, ever since I've been of a certain age, I've not really enjoyed the Tim Burton Batman movies. In fact, Batman Returns, I think, is outright shit. So I feel nothing for Michael Keaton Batman showing up. So that's like
you're already working out of a hole, right?
Well, no, it's not that. Like, look at it this way. It's like they're doing all this stuff in the movie. What not all of it necessarily seems bad at the get-go. Although I do think doing a Flashpoint movie as your first Flash movie is still a terrible idea. I still disagree with that, and I still think Ezra Miller is badly miscast. But the ideas of what the story isn't necessarily bad. But the fact that they're dangling the nostalgia like candy in front of me of Michael Keaton Batman, when I don't care about that, means that all I am left with is what else the movie has to offer, and I'm not feeling it. I'm not feeling what it's doing. Now, it doesn't look as much of a train wreck as in my head I thought it could look, but I'm still not going to see it in theaters. Like, I'm still not going to go and see it. Like, I'm done. Like, leave me alone.
Yeah. I I have enough points that I can probably wiggle out of a free movie ticket.
You always cave and go.
Yeah. Hey, I haven't caved and seen Avatar yet, so.
That's because you get terrible taste. You went and saw Black Adam.
No, I didn't. I watched Black Adam at home while wrapping presents, sir.
Okay, you watched Black Adam. Period.
Yeah. On HBO when it was free. And so
I've not even watched it for free yet, though.
Yeah, that's fine. But yeah, no. I like the Michael Keaton part. I mean, having him back, like, yeah, there's a nostalgia pop, but I did, hearing the Danny Elfman score behind there and seeing him back up, and and this after his resurgence in the last 10 years with Birdman and all of that stuff. So I think it's okay. You brought up No Way Home, which I think is pretty apt in that I have a lot of friends that think that's the best Spider-Man movie, and then I start asking them about why, and it just boils down to the nostalgia pops. And now I'm going to have that with people with Batman, and I can't. When you compared it to that, and I was just like, oh, God damn it.
But this is the No Way Home. This is exactly what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it looks kind of like a hollow experience to me. Now, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it'll have a lot going on, and the writing is entirely possible. But, at this point, we've had so many superhero movies that the action they're showing me isn't, for a start, the CG looks bad, but even if it was good, the action they're showing me isn't going to exactly feel impressive. It's not giving me, a different tone that feels unique. The one thing about Matt Reeves' Batman is when we got trailers for that, is it had a very specific, different tone to everything else. Whereas this could just be an MCU movie trailer. It could be. It's got the same vibe, same beats. Larry David noise. That's my reaction.
Do the whole face too.
What are you doing?
Most used GIF.
He doesn't do that.
And he does it, and that's a GIF that you use all the time. Where he's No.
You're thinking of the stuck between two shitty choices GIF where he's like, yeah, you're thinking of something different. I'm just doing the apathy,
Gotcha.
Different. You got your Larry David, Matt. You can't get by in this world.
I haven't watched enough Curb. I've only watched a little Curb, so
Okay, watch more Curb. That's the key thing we've learned. All right, let's get into some solicits then. So May solicits for this year. We'll get into it. There's a bunch of stuff that is of interest. I would say some of which we knew, some of which we maybe did not. But first up, we have Titans issue 1. This is obviously one that we did know about. We got a few more covers for it now. Most of them look nice enough. So this is obviously Tom Taylor's new series with Nicholas Scott. New ongoing series. What is there to say except this is a dream team.
Yep.
And we've been loving Nightwing, so an extension of that sounds like also like a dream. So by all means, give it to me into my veins. Thank you and kindly.
Yeah. That Dan Mora cover. I mean, I thought I really liked the Nicole Scott cover. Then they dropped that Dan Mora variant, and man, looks so good.
Yep. Very, very good. Then we have Shazam issue 1. For some reason, just for everyone following along this, the solicits aren't in the usual place. For some reason, they're not in Newsarama at this month. So the site that I'm looking at has all of the covers stacked one on top of each other, so I had to scroll for ages there till I got to the actual Shazam text.
Because they put all the Shazam ones. They didn't put all the Titans ones, but they put all the Shazam ones, and it was a long time to go through.
Yeah, which, for the record, some of these covers are very, very nice.
I think it's cool that they got Somni to do a cover, because I can't think of a lot of Somni DC work. So.
Yeah, and well, he's worked with Wade, so that's probably how that happened.
Yeah.
There's a few interesting.
And that Shaner cover, he's another one that we already knew he could draw Mary, right?
Oh, I mean, there was no doubt he could do.
It just looks right. So actually,
it's like I kind of like that one with the dinosaur as well. It's got it's got a weird sort of golden age kind of sheen to it that I kind of like.
Yeah, it looks like an old a Doc Savage cover.
Yeah. But the Shinner one's obviously gorgeous. So this is Mark Waid writing with Dan Mora on art. So this is a new Shazam book, which is exciting news. We've been wanting an ongoing Shazam for a while, and obviously the Johns one's had its moments, but it was kind of had a lot of delays, kind of had to wrap up at a weird time. This hopefully will be more of a consistent thing, and given the way that they've been treating characters like Nightwing and treating stuff like the Batgirls books had like a lot of room to breathe, and even though it's not the biggest seller every month, it's getting into its late teens and issues and feels like it's getting at least a fair shake. I don't know if it'll last too much longer, but it's still going. So excited for this. So I mean,
and reading the solicit text, it definitely sounds like it's going to be more of a lighthearted type take on, almost like a back to basics Shazam.
Which Wade's very good at. I mean, the first thing says, the first words in the text is dinosaurs from space.
Yeah, the Clubhouse of Eternity. But like the thing that gets me is, about halfway through, it says, want to stop Lex Luthor and Joker, call Superman and Batman. International crises, page Wonder Woman. But when Gargo, Emperor of the Moon, sets his sight on Gorilla City, that's when you shout Shazam. And I was like, okay, that is a different enough take, and because I feel like when I think of Shazam, over the last 20 years, it's all John stuff, right? It's him associated with the JSA and Black Adam and that whole thing. And so here, this back to, it's going to be a little bit cheesy. Like one of his old nicknames was the Big Red Cheese. And and that tone shift, I think, will set him apart from some of these other DC books. This is very exciting. And plus Mora, that is a really good match for DC right now, is Wade and Mora. So excited.
Yeah, my only slight concern is that the text nor the covers at any point indicate that any of his family members will also be in the book. It might just be Billy on his own, which I think would be a slight shame. Maybe it's something that he'll bring in after like an arc or something like that. Maybe he wants to just do a little bit of solo Shazam and then bring in the rest later, which would be fine.
Yeah.
But so I'm just saying I hope to see them, is all I'm saying. I don't want them to be left behind. But no, that's cool. So another exciting new series for May. May's got a lot of new stuff. Next up, we have Green Lantern.
#1.
Issue 1. This is written by Jeremy Adams. That pause as I'm saying the titles because I'm trying to scroll to the goddamn text is just to make sure what the title is.
It's going to be Jeremy Adams with art by Zermanico, and then a backup that's John Stewart, written by Philip Kennedy Johnson, and art by Montos. So big 1-2 punch here of Jeremy Adams and Philip Kennedy Johnson writing.
Yeah, some nice covers in this one as well.
Yeah.
The main cover is very nice. There's one with Sinestro in like a hoodie in the rain, which actually is quite good. And then I also quite like the one with Hal with the hammer at the fair, try to impress, I presume, Carol. But
and that's the same artist that did that dinosaur.
Oh, really?
Shazam one.
Okay. Yeah. I can see now you've said that, actually, the similar kind of painting.
The Ariel
style.
Cologne. So.
No, that's cool. Yeah, spelling out the events of Dark Crisis, Guardians of Oa at the heart of the Green Lantern Corps have quarantined Sector 2814, home planet Earth, and its champion along with it. So this is kind of pinning Hal to this sector, so he's going to be sticking around Earth. So that's kind of cool. There's nothing not to like about this. I mean, Jeremy Adams, well, he's not a huge name. He's been doing, solid, consistent work on The Flash, so I'm kind of excited to see what he might do with Green Lantern.
Yeah, for sure. If it's half as good as his Flash has been, I should still enjoy it. So, and Zermanico on art, I'm a big fan of Zermanico.
Oh, and this is a week 2 book, which is perfect.
Yes.
Because week 2 needs books. Nice. What were those last couple? I'm regretting this because I'm going to scroll a lot now, but Shazam's a week 1. Perfect. I'm happy to see that. Titans is a week 3, so that's still kind of that's not in the quiet weeks, but hey, whatever. 2 out of 3 so far, not bad. So very cool. Next up, we have Batman the Brave and the Bold issue 1. So this is a 64-page anthology style book that has stories by Tom King, Ed Brisson, Christopher Cantwell, and Dan Mora. Dan Mora in the writers list. Interesting.
I'm on the arts list, so he's writing and.
Well, I was just going to get to the art list, which is Mitch Gerrits, Jeff Spokes, Javier Rodriguez, and Dan Mora. So, interesting stuff.
Feels like this is replacing
Urban Legends.
The Urban Legends book. So
yeah, I think it's a little bit shorter, but yeah, it does feel like it's maybe. Do you know what I think it is? I think the title Brave and the Bold just carries a lot more weight to it. And I imagine as well that because it's Brave and the Bold, that will Batman be in all the stories?
Seeming reading the text, I'm thinking so.
Yeah, because Brave and the Bold, typically it's usually Batman and, he teams up with someone else, yeah.
Yep.
Which, you can be cynical about, but that's kind of the tradition, and if it gets some eyes on some other characters, then that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
I'm definitely there to try this, and I hope I like it. I hope that, more than one of the stories is, because obviously Tom King and Mitch Gerrard's, I'm assuming that's going to pop, but I hope some of the other ones are, and it, Dan Mora as a writer, I'm not really sure about, and Christopher Cantwell, I don't really know. Ed Brisson's the only name I recognize. I recognize Mora, but obviously not as a writer. So
yeah. Well, Cantwell, it says, did *Halt and Catch Fire*, so I don't know if you'd watch that.
I haven't. So he comes from TV then. That's interesting.
Yeah, and it says co-creator of Breyer and Iron Man, so he must have written an Iron Man comic too.
Okay.
These stories seem good. So we have a coming off the success of Batman One Bad Day, Riddler. It's King and Garrett reunite for a horrifying 4-part retelling of the first clash between Joker and Batman.
Oh, so this is kind of like a redo of the Man Who Laughs then, which was Brubaker.
Yeah,
I don't know if it was
who did art though.
It was a Brubaker. It was either a one shot or it was like maybe a 3-issue mini, but it was telling the story of the first time Batman encounters Joker. So I'm kind of down for a new version of this, and given that King tends to write a very oppressive Joker, which is my favorite kind of Joker.
Dark. Yeah.
I'm kind of down for that. Especially, going on that Riddler one shot from One Bad Day. I mean, geez, give it to me.
Sure.
I'm into that. And then next stories that Justice League may be gone, but enemies aren't. Who'll protect the world from the worst? Ed Brisson and Jeff Spokes pick up a story started in Wildstorm 30th anniversary special as Director Bones and his new covert Stormwatch team travel the globe on blackout missions. Okay, so that's a Stormwatch story.
So judging from the covers, right, with Bones, it looks like you have Shadow and Ravager on this team, and then some characters I don't quite recognize. Someone in kind of like a white ninja kind of vibe.
Yeah, I don't know who that is either.
I don't know who that is. So judging from that cover,
this is quite smart. You've got your main story, which is your Tom King, Mitch Gerrard's big Batman story, and then you're like, so here's some Stormwatch as a backup story, and then likewise we also have where are we? We have Dan Mora, obviously writing and drawing, and this is a new series of black and white stories.
Yeah.
So cool, interesting.
Then this one, the Cantwell story, has me because not just because of Superman, but for what it says. So the Order of the Black Lamp, Part 1, from Christopher Cantwell and Javier Rodriguez. Superman finds a decoder ring with a secret message of "Save me," which sends him on a quest to solve a mystery with ties to the Man of Steel's past. So it doesn't seem like it's just Batman, but
that one's interesting because how does that fit into Brave and the Bold? Sure, I mean, even if it's not Batman, he has to be teaming up with someone, otherwise it's not Brave and the Bold. Right. So
yeah,
curious. It feels a little bit odd in this set of stories. Like, I'm interested in it, but it feels odd in this set of stories. So I'm just curious, how it feels like it fits when we actually get to read it. But I'm definitely there to read it. Obviously, there's a lot of new books in May. It's kind of an exciting time. Feels like a fresh start almost for a lot of the line. But fantastically, we're not losing any of the good books really that we currently like to get them, which is kind of nice. So. And I think we are at a stage right now where we do need some more books. It's not just a case of because sometimes we've got so many books we could use trimming a couple. I don't feel that right now. I feel like we need a few more, particularly on the first couple of weeks of the month. Next up we got Cyborg, Cyborg's new book. This is by Morgan Hampton, art by Tom Rainey. And the short story that we got recently was kind of it had me kind of optimistic, even though the creative team isn't the exact same.
Yep.
So,
but Morgan Hampton, it says a Milestone Initiative writer. So they came from Milestone, which is good, and it's a new name. So yeah, I'm curious to start this one. It's or to try this one. Cyborg's back in Detroit, which we saw in that Power short.
Yeah.
So It says an aggressive new company is turning the Motor City into an overclocked engine for revolutionary artificial intelligence, and no one knows better than Cyborg that technological transformation always comes with a steep human price. So, it's a miniseries. It says 1 of 6.
Yeah, 1 of 6. Yeah.
So, I'm curious to try this one. I liked that story a lot with him and his mom and the origin of Booyah and what that exactly means to him. So, yeah.
Yeah, I hope
cool.
it's good. I really do, because I've tried so many Cyborg issue ones, and it's not really that many. It's like 3 probably, but every time I'll try one, maybe read an issue 2, and then kind of fall away from it. I'm hoping this one will be good and sort of like stick the whole 6 issues. Next up, so we had a few books announced this week. This is the first of these. I assume they're all back to back, but we'll find out in a second. So this first one is called Spirit World, and it's the first of 3 Asian focused characters in new miniseries. So they're all 6 issue minis, I think. And this is Alyssa Wong writing, with art by Haining. Noticeably, they have the Asian text next to the names here as well, which is cool. So yeah, this is a 6 issue miniseries, and more thoughts on this later, because I actually did go back and read the stories from the Lazarus Planet one shots that were relevant. I think there was one in the Wildstorm 30th anniversary thing that I didn't go back and read. Someone said that to us on Twitter.
City Boy, yeah.
Well, City Boy had a story in one of these too.
Yeah, no, it did. But also, I think that's the Wildstorm one was City Boy.
He also had one in Wildstorm.
Yeah,
cool.
in the Wildstorm. Yeah.
So no, I mean, this is probably the one that I'm least intrigued by out of the 3, just because Alyssa Wong's less of a known factor to me. I will say this though, based on this cover and based on the short from one of the Lazarus Planet one shots that we'll talk about a little bit about later, is tying in Cassandra Cain to make me a little bit more curious is a genius move, because they're like, hey, this is a new character, you're maybe not in love with the concept yet, but you like Cassandra Cain. So because she's involved, you're going to want to read it. So that might turn out to be a genius little move to get us invested. And then, because
I was in the same way. I was like, that's a new magic character. Okay. All right. And then, Cass is there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, when they brought in Cass and are tying her, because she is also an Asian character, and it makes sense to tie her into kind of this line. That was like, okay, you know what? You've kind of got me a little bit curious now. And so more on the setup, like, short story later, but to start with though, interesting. The next one is, and these have all got like a kind of a similar banner at the top of their front covers. The next one is The Vigil, and this is a team book, and this comes from Ram V writing, who we love on this show, so this was always a no-brainer to try, if nothing else. Art by Lalit Kumar Sharma, and this is a team, I believe, of Indian characters. And again, they had a short story in one of the Lazarus Planet books, which we've went back and kind of looked at for this episode. So yeah, it's like 3 characters who all have very different abilities. Really cool. There's a cover here that's like a pin board with different newspaper clippings that is gorgeous. It makes me think of like a Mitch Gerrard's like crime book or something like that, or maybe even, I don't know, even a little bit of Ram V's own Catwoman run. I mean, maybe a lot of those vibes.
There's a bit of intrigue going on that's not just superhero. Like there's like underworld kind of stuff at play here.
I mean, honestly, I don't even know a thing about this, because like it's Ram V. Like obviously, I'm trying it. There's no question. So
I mean, that's why I originally read that story a couple weeks back, because it was Ram V. And then when I opened it up and it was Jason Todd, I went, caught by my own bug. And then, we'll talk about it.
Yeah, more on that later.
We'll talk about it. But yeah, so very curious about this, because him doing a team book, the last time he had done a team was Justice League Dark. So I'm so used to him just doing solo type stuff. And although he seems to kind of have a team mentality on his Detective Comics run with the way that he's interspersing all these different characters. So, but yeah, this seems fun.
Yeah, no, I'm into it. And then the third book is City Boy, which is from Greg Pak, who we've not seen at DC in quite some time. Outside of maybe like a short anthology book or something like that. I like, one of my few bright spots of the New 52 was when Pak was writing action. Like I enjoyed that. Like it was like 3 trades worth, but I really enjoyed that period. And it was a time when I wasn't enjoying a lot of DC. So I am super excited to have Greg Pak back writing something. We got Mankhe Jung on the art for this as well. And this is a kind of an interesting character who kind of like sees the history of things he touches in the city. So more on this a little bit later again with the setup story in the Lazarus Planet one shot. But
so what I like here is it says that like he, depending on the cities, and there's different avatars of the cities, and that's something that I didn't pick up on. I thought that was just maybe a companion of his. So like, the Gotham one's a rat avatar made out of scraps, but what about Metropolis, Bloodhaven, Amnesty Bay, or even Themyscira? So I like that it's playing with the different,
It's kind of building his own little mythology around his powers. Like, I think out of all the new characters, his powers seem the most interesting to me.
Yeah.
Out of the characters, but much like the Ram V book, I was like, oh, it's Pac. Like, I'm trying it. Like, there's no question. So no, this is a cool little line of books that they're starting off in May.
Yeah.
And we'll see if any of the characters stick beyond these miniseries. Because they've done this in the past. Like at the time since we started this show, we had that new age of DC heroes, and I really like Sideways and Silencer in that. But they've mostly not been around. Like Sideways has been in a couple of panels in like in Dark Crisis or whatever. But other than that, they've mostly just disappeared. Yeah. So, we'll see.
Yeah, Sideways is teaming up with Red Canary over there. So. Yeah, that's the last time I remember. And Silencer, shoot, haven't seen Silencer since that Nightwing story.
That's right.
When he was doing the race with Ben Percy.
That was right before Rick Racing. That was the last couple issues before that.
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
and that was what drove Percy away from DC, if I remember right. I mean, I don't know if they ever said that. It was never confirmed, but that was just timeline wise. Timeline wise, he was writing Nightwing, and then all of a sudden, this Rick Grayson shit had to happen, and all of a sudden, he wasn't writing DC anymore.
He's like, I'm out. I'm gonna go tell stories of actual werewolves and just tie him into Wolverine.
Yeah. So I mean, that's just some speculation on my part, but I'm sticking to it. Damn it. All right. Next up, if I can scroll past the 50 covers, is Batman issue 135, which they're also noting here. The legacy numbering of is issue 900, which is cool. I really would appreciate if like these longer running books did have the legacy numbering on them, especially since they're not as convoluted as some Marvel books, and you can actually easily go and just work this out that it's correct. Because I stopped a while ago, but there was a time when I was keeping track of what numbering was actually at in like the books, and I remember when Flash and Wonder Woman hit 750 and they chose to actually change to that. I was like, yeah, I can confirm. Like, my own personal tracking of this puts them at that. Whereas sometimes when Marvel have done it, they've been including annuals and they've been including like side stories and like mini series that tied in, and I'm like, nah, that's cooking the books. Like, as much as DC have changed the numbers, and you can argue if you want if they should even consider this issue 900, like, it is just purely, Batman issue 1 through like 700 something, and then like the New 52 book, and then the Rebirth book, and that's it. That's the 3 books, and they make up this number, and it adds up. So, yeah. So they're doing obviously a big special 56-page $7 issue for issue 900, which they're always going to do with these things. So yeah, that's cool. There's some nice covers there. There's a good Behermo cover with Batman and Joker on top of a building, which I quite like.
With the gargoyle Joker-esque face.
Yep.
On the building, so it looks pretty cool.
That's really cool. So this will be obviously whatever we get after this multiverse arc in Batman right now. This is probably going to be in the next arc, I would assume, because it's talking about Red Mask and no, it may actually still be the same.
No,
arc.
Red Mask is in that story. Yeah, Batman versus Red Mask in a brutal Gotham.
This is the conclusion. Yeah, okay. This is the final part of that story. Interesting. So we've got at least another like 4 issues of that then. Okay. All right. Well, I hope it sticks a landing. I hope it does, because I'm kind of mixed on the story right now, so I'm hoping it lands and does something special for that big anniversary size issue. So cool. Next up, we have, that's a lot of Power Girl covers. We have Power Girl Special issue 1. Written by Leah Williams and art by Margaret Savage, which I can tell you right now, I'm not reading this because Margaret Savage's art is not for me. I'm just going to say it right now.
And I am enjoying the story from Leah Williams, so I will be checking this out.
You are more than welcome to.
Yep.
This is actually a week 5 book, so I think this is the first week 5 book we've hit, but so we'll probably get a couple of annuals or specials later on.
Yeah, so this is a special. It says so. I feel like they're just testing the waters, but yeah, no, I'm enjoying that backup in action. And from what we had in the Lazarus planet, so yeah.
Yeah, not for me, but that's okay. That's Power Girls Special Issue 1. Next up, we have Green Arrow Issue 2. So obviously this is starting in April. This is the Joshua Williamson run of Green Arrow. It is only a 6-issue miniseries. Who knows though? Maybe it'll get the Poison Ivy treatment where it gets extended. It's always possible. But it is a shame that they can't just assume that Green Arrow will, do well enough to be an ongoing. But those are the times we live in. So very cool. Then of course we have Nightwing, issue 104.
Oh my god, this cover.
Which one?
With the first cover, I think it's I think that's Redondo.
Oh yeah, it's the meme. It's the guy who's like looking all suave, and the guy in the front with his hands in his face. Yeah, okay.
And just Beast Boy with that face is cracking me up.
It's quite good. I'll give you that.
Is it that swagger?
That's good. That's good. So cool. And there's a backup in Nightwing now.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Nightwing and John Kent. That should be fun.
Yeah.
I love that relationship.
And it's notable, the backup's written by C.S. Picat with art by Eduardo Pansica. The main story's Tom Taylor, obviously, with Travis Moore in this particular issue.
Yeah, and C.S. Picat, I think, did the Bitewing story in the Nightwing annual.
Okay, really? Okay.
Where, I think, I might have that wrong. They might have done the one after that, but I think it was the Bitewing.
It kind of feels like they've promoted Nightwing here. Like, it could because, typically it's Batman, Superman, and some of those books that have the backups and are the dollar extra. I think it's interesting that Nightwing's now seen as to be that caliber.
Yeah.
But do you know why, DC? Because everyone loves Dick. And if Dan Didio wasn't so stubborn for years, you'd know this by now. You'd have known it years ago. So, yes, thank you, and kindly.
Dick sells.
Oh dear. All right, I'm scrolling past a lot of Superman covers here. Superman issue 4, Joshua Williamson, Jamal Campbell. Not surprising. There's an issue of, I assume that's Brainiac on like an operating table just with mad science shit.
Bizarro.
Oh, Bizarro. Sorry. Yes. I said Brainiac. Yeah. Bizarro. Yeah, of course. That looks really cool. I also quite like the main cover with the claw coming through the cape. It's very
the kryptonite claw.
Yes, but so it's very Infinity Gauntlet where each nail's a different color of kryptonite.
Yeah. So definitely. I figured you'd have liked the streaky cover too.
That's all right. Yeah. That's cute. That's interesting.
So. Yeah, no, I'm Williamson doing new villains, because that was a thing in Green Arrow 2, introducing another new villain, and now here he's introducing Kryptonite Claw. Like, I always joked that Williamson is kind of Jeff Johnsy.
Wait. That's the name? I thought you just said that because that's what it looked like.
No.
His name is Kryptonite Claw.
With 2 Ks. Claws with also a K. But I was just saying, like...
the Mortal Kombat school of spelling, I see.
That is. So the things with Williamson is he is Johns-esque, and not just because of a long, lengthy run on Flash, but like Johns love to create new villains to put the heroes against. And here's Williamson doing something similar in all of his books. So
oh man, this Cyborg Superman cover for what I assume is Action. I've not scrolled down yet, but Action Comics 1055 with that phenomenal cover. Main story by Philip Kennedy Johnson, Dan Jurgens, and then Dorado Quick. So it's not the Power Girl story anymore in Action. The third one's a different story. So interesting.
Hank Henshaw. Let's see. What's the backup? I'm looking.
I don't think it specifically says anything about the.
They don't say what it's going to be. It's just.
I assume the Dan Jurgens one's just more of the.
Yeah. Well, yeah. That's what I figured, but I want to see what the new one was. But yeah.
No, it doesn't mention. No. So that's cool. It's worth mentioning, Action Comics is $5, the same as the other books with backups, but Action Comics actually has 2 backups.
Yeah.
So you actually get 8 more pages for the same price as you do, Batman or Nightwing. Yeah. It's like there's very few wins in these days with most books being $5, but I feel like that's one that's they threw you a bone. They could have charged an extra $1 for that if they wanted to. and it would be annoying, but they could have done.
Don't give them ideas. Well, DDO's not charging more, so it's fine.
Yeah. Then we have Adventures of Superman, John Kent, issue 3, which, obviously we heard some stuff about this earlier in the month with the Injustice stuff coming into play.
Yep.
But yeah, cool. I'm sad that Clayton Henry's doing the art, but you can't win everything in life, so
True.
I'll just move on. And then next up we have Superboy, the Man of Tomorrow, issue 2. I forgot this was coming out, to be honest, but
I was just letting my wife know how good I've been on spending money on comics, and now they're dropping all these super books in May and April, so
yep. So yeah, man, 16th of May is going to be busy. I've been noticing that date a lot in these books.
Yeah.
So yeah, Superboy, the Man of Tomorrow, issue 2, Kenny Porter with Janoy Lindsay on the art. So that's that. And then we have Unstoppable Doom Patrol issue 3 by Dennis Culver and Chris Burnham. I'm looking forward to this. In fact, I'm looking forward to it more because of a story in Lazarus thingy this week. So that's Lazarus Planet. I actually forgot the title.
Lazarus thingy. No, it's Lazarus thingy from now on.
So that's cool. And yeah, there's nice covers. And you got
some Green Lanterns popping up.
Yeah, specifically Kyle and Guy, but the looks of it on the covers.
The best one and the worst one, and that is a true statement for either of us.
No, Jessica's my favorite. Kyle's my second favorite.
Over Kyle?
Yeah, Jessica first, Kyle second.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, Jessica, then Kyle, then I don't know. I'd have to think about the middle, but Guy's at the bottom. Guy's definitely the bottom.
Right, 50 pounds of dirt. Big guy for you. So, yeah.
All right. Next up, we got Harley Quinn issue 30 by Tini Howard and Sweeney Boo.
Is that a Frisian cover? That is a Frisian cover.
Is that the one that's intentionally Margot Robbie?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
With all the pastels and
Yep. Then we have
new Milestone.
Well, we have New Talent Showcase, the Milestone Initiative issue 1. So this is so they've done this in the past. It's been a while, I feel like, but they did this. They've done this at least 2 or 3 times since we started the show. Which is, it's one of these 100-page, in this case 112 pages, so they're going all out for this one.
Yeah.
But it's basically just in this case it's 12 stories by 12 writers and artists who are upcoming through the DC school, whatever they call it. I can't remember what they call the damn thing. But
it's the writing initiative. There
you go, the writing initiative.
Yeah.
So it's all new people. And we've tried this in the past, and it is on the week 5. I still suspect I won't want to read this, but I appreciate what it is, though. I appreciate that it's this chance for all these.
I appreciate that it's there. It says it's only $4. I don't know if it's a misprint. For $4 for 112 pages.
I mean, that's one way to sell it. Is here.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, if there's not too much else going on, I might want to. Although I'm not that well versed on Milestone characters. I know who Hardware is and Rocket and Icon, but the rest and Static, but the rest of them I'm not too sure. But yeah, I don't want to overcommit to anything. But $4 for 112 pages, the part of me that likes a deal is there. And it's got a Dennis Cowan cover, which is pretty cool. So,
yeah, I know that because of the quality in this is going to vary all over the place because it's all these new people. And the fact that I barely know any of these characters means that I don't think I'm going to bother. But I appreciate that it exists. I think it's a nice idea that they do this. So that's cool. Sticking with some Milestone stuff, we have Static Shadows of Dakota issue 4. So that's ongoing. Well, it's not. It's a miniseries. But you know what I mean. It's continuing, is what I meant to say. Then we have Batman White Knight Presents Generation Joker issue 1. So this is a 6-issue miniseries in the White Knight sort of universe. So cool.
This has become its own thing at this point, which is kind of
absolutely
cool.
Yeah, it's kind of, it seems to always have a miniseries. It'll do its 6 to 8 issues miniseries, then the next one will start up.
It's playing with its own continuity here, and that's I like that. It's pretty cool.
Then we got some Peacemaker stuff here. This has got a lot of covers. So we got Peacemaker Tries Hard issue 1. That's actually a pretty good title. That's a pretty good title. Written by Kel Starks and art by Steve Pugh. This is a 6-issue miniseries, so this is issue 1 of 6. And having earned his release from the Suicide Squad, Peacemaker wants to try and do normal superhero stuff for a change. Unfortunately, everyone, including the bad guys, thinks he sucks at superhero stuff. But when busting up a terrorist ring introduces Christopher Smith to the cutest thing ever, walk awkwardly in four legs. He finds unconventional love he's been denied his whole life. That is until the dog is kidnapped right out from under him by a supervillain who has some very unsuperheroic plans for Peacemaker's brand of ultra-violence. Will he help an infamously unstable superpowered criminal steal the world's most valuable and dangerous DNA? Honestly, Christopher's pretty lonely, so it probably just depends on how nicely they ask. So, yeah, Peacemaker miniseries. Obviously, Peacemaker's character's like cachet has moved up a lot because of the TV show, because he was in the Suicide Squad movie.
And it seems like it's that version, because I wasn't that familiar with Peacemaker up until Suicide Squad, and they made him Cena, and now it seems like that iteration is bleeding its way back into comics, which I love when stuff works like that.
And I've not seen a single person say they're upset that Peacemaker's changed, which tells me there wasn't really a big fan base for him beforehand. Yeah.
Well, I mean, up until he showed up at Suicide Squad, the only thing I knew about Peacemaker was that's who the comedian was based on for Watchmen.
Yeah. Speaking of Suicide Squad, we have Suicide Squad Kill Arkham Asylum issue 1. This is a 5-issue miniseries starting in May. There's a couple of really good covers for this, actually. There's the one that they're all in chains and the bat signal's behind them. That looks gorgeous. It's Deadshot, Killer Shark. I assume that's Boomerang and Harley. The blonde hair? I don't know.
Yeah, he's got the sideburns. He's got the chops. I would assume that's
and then there's the other one with Killer Shark, like just about to bite in a guy's head. That is gorgeous.
That's Steve Beach cover. That is supposed to work.
Yeah, Steve Beach usually delivers, I have to say. Steve Beach covers are usually phenomenal.
John Layman.
Yeah, so this is John Layman writing with Jesus Hervas on the R. I'll read this since it's new and I didn't expect it. Before the Suicide Squad kills your favorite heroes in the upcoming video game. Oh, this is a video game related thing. Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League is coming out, of course, in May, which is why this is starting. Join us for the thrilling prequel and witness them kill Arkham Asylum. Amanda Waller is taking control of the recently rebuilt Arkham Asylum, and her brutal tactics and merciless methods have led to the most secure asylum Gotham has ever known. But when cell doors open and the inmates are left to a free-for-all deathmatch, Waller's true intentions reveal themselves. Identify the strongest, smartest, and most brutal inmates of the asylum to serve on her Task Force X. I'm shocked that Waller's got ulterior motives.
You can't trust her.
I'm a little bit bummed this is just a video game thing, actually, because the covers look really nice. But, I mean, it makes sense. They usually do these when the big movies or video games are coming out. Yep. So, fair enough. I remember reading the one for Arkham City back in like 2011. Just before the New 52 launch, that summer they had Arkham City 1 through 5 come out. So next up we got the Sandman universe, Nightmare Country, The Glass House issue 2. So this is the next James Tynion issue with art by Alessandro Esterin. So cool. And then we have that white cover with the red Batman logo over the Joker smile. Oh baby, that is a very nice image. Batman, the Joker, the Deadly Duo, issue 7. Obviously, I'm not reading this, but that cover is very nice.
That cover and the Mignola one above it, it's like, I understand if people don't like Mignola's art, but it's very of a style, and I like that. Yeah,
so this is issue 7 of 7. So this is the final issue of the miniseries. It's a 40-page, $6 book. I don't know if they've all been that size, but the final one is. So cool. And then next up we have, well, this is not a book, but we have the Sandman Morpheus Hell Masterpiece Edition. This is it's a book. It's a 2,872 page hardcover.
Good Lord, don't drop that on your toe.
Oh, it's okay. It's not all one book. It's like 6 books in a set. Okay, that's better, because that's too thick. Like that omnibus spine would just break if it was actually that size.
2,000 pages, good
like,
Lord.
1,500's about the absolute max, and I think that's a bit too big. I think 1,200's your comfortable max, but some DC omnibuses have been like 1,500 pages, and they're just a little too unwieldy. But 6 volumes collecting the Sandman issues 1 to 75, the Dream Hunters, Overture, so it's basically all the stuff that's in the absolutes, I think. And 6 sort of deluxe size hardcovers with like a weird like helmet that goes around them as a sort of collectible. So This thing looks insane, and it costs 500 of your US dollars. So,
yeah, that's a steep price. I mean, but that's a lot of books.
I mean, it's effectively 2 regular omnibuses, which would probably cost about 200 to 250. Probably, I mean, these days probably 250. So you're probably paying about 250 for the mask thing that goes around them, just to put it in perspective.
Yeah.
So that's that. Next up, Human Target Book 2, by Tom King. Obviously,
one of my favorite
issues.
covers. Yep.
Yeah, this is the fire one coming from behind the curtain. This is obviously just the second half. This is 7 through 12. Did the one shot go in the first volume?
Must have.
Must have done, yeah.
Must have.
But fair enough. So that's coming out. This is a hardcover. It's not oversized though, so I guess they're saving for that, that 13 issue deluxe hardcover at some point. Swamp Thing Green Hell hardcover's been solicited, which means issue 3 must be on the way.
Yep.
Yeah, this is set up for August. So yeah, cool. 150 pages. That's all 3 issues. We'll talk about issue 2 a little bit later. Suicide Squad Get Joker. This is the Brian Azzarello book. This is the soft cover. The hardcover came out a while ago. So that's neat. Batman versus Robin. This is the Mark Waid book. Which that is continuing. So it's interesting that doesn't say volume 1.
Let's see. I'm scrolling down a lot from yeah,
keep up, Matt.
Weird, right?
Yeah, because it is coming back. Like, it is going to have an issue, 5, and unless it just is. I mean, it's 248 pages, so maybe it just maybe it's not going to last that much longer.
Yeah, maybe not, because it doesn't say
what it includes.
No.
So yeah, hard to judge. Maybe it's just a miss. Maybe it's meant to say volume 1 that just doesn't.
Right. Right.
Then we have Gotham Knights Gilded City, which was the tie-in to the last video game that came out. So that's it's a hardcover. Interesting. I wouldn't expect that to get a hardcover, but there it is. Batman the Knight hardcover coming out. That's all 10 issues of that bad boy. And then we got Punchline the Gotham game collected edition. That's coming out. We have Batman One Bad Day Catwoman hardcover. So it's basically just the story plus some extras, I guess.
Yeah, all of these with the box set solicited at the bottom.
Yes. Yeah, it has all the rest of the ones basically that haven't come out yet. So yeah, and then you can buy a box set that actually has all the books in it, because there was also a solicit where you could just get the box set with the first few volumes, and then you'd have to buy the rest of the hardcovers separately. Yeah,
it came with an empty box.
Yeah. So it's nice to know that they're selling one that actually has all the books, which, to be honest, is probably the way to buy it, just to get them all. Because I would say at this point, I'm comfortable saying that enough of them are worth having that you might as well just get the whole set. So we still have a couple to get to, admittedly. One coming very soon, but there's that. Then we have an original graphic novel, which is
Young Alfred.
Yeah. Young Alfred, Payne and the Butler, which is that's a good title. I can't deny it's a good title.
No.
So that's cool. And then we also have Teen Titans series connecting cover editions. So I think this is the previous released young adult graphic novels, just in a new sort of set of covers. Yeah.
Plus, I didn't know they were doing Robin, this team together. So it's got Robin, Raven, Beast Boy loves Raven, and then Beast Boy. And this is a connecting covers edition. So that's pretty cool.
We got Superman Camelot Falls, the deluxe edition. This is the Kurt Busiek and art by Carlos Picello and Jesus Marino. And this is from Superman 654 to 58, 662 to 64, and 667. This
was right after Infinite Crisis, I think.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever read this, actually.
Yeah.
So, but cool. Yeah, it's another story from the 2000s collected. Crisis on Multiple Earths book 3, soft cover version, so that's just more of a reprint. Deceased box set with all the Deceased books so far, and soft cover in a slipcase. $100 for 760 pages. Quick way to collect all of them if you want them. Batman and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles omnibus. Now this is an interesting one. So this is basically the 3 miniseries that James Tynion did. Well, he did the first one at least, maybe the first 2. It also has Ryan Ferrier listed, so he probably did the 3rd one. Freddie Williams II did the art in the first one at least, maybe the first 2. And the reason why I'm not sure is because I've read the first one, but not the sequels.
Not the follow-ups.
But the first one was very good. I actually, I watched the animated movie recently, and it made me want to go back and read the other 2, because I was like, oh, this is actually really fun, and I was reminded why I liked it so much.
I went to watch that on HBO Max, and they don't have it.
That's not a surprise. They've been dumping so many things.
Yeah, but every other Batman animated movie they had. That was so I wonder if it was a rights thing because of Ninja Turtles, like they couldn't put it up.
I don't think that. Honestly, Matt, at this point, random things are leaving constantly from HBO Max. I wouldn't.
Sucks.
I would not judge it on anything. I'm sure it's available on something though.
Oh yeah, no, I have it on Blu-ray. I was at work.
All right, okay.
Yeah, I was away.
So no, but this is an interesting omnibus to get, to be honest. So it's 576 pages. It's only 18 issues, but nice big deluxe hardcover if you're into it. I can recommend the first one, and I want to read the others, so cool. All right, we're finally back to single issues here, because they keep...
we are. They did this weird on the site.
Well, no, they've been doing this recently, though, where they've been putting a set, not all of the collections, but they've been putting like a selection of them in the middle before they get to the rest of the single issues. Okay. So, anyway, we're at Batgirls issue 18, so that's cool. We're back to Robbie Rodriguez on art for this issue. And the Saints are back, so that's bringing back some characters from the first arc. But yeah, some cool covers for this one as well. I'm into it. So more. Did you catch up on Batgirls?
I did.
Oh, cool.
So I'll be joining in.
Yeah. Well, the last one from last month was easy to catch up on because it was a silent issue.
It was mostly silent. Yeah.
So
up until the end where there's some narration of a letter.
Could fly through that, but yeah, that's cool.
Oh yeah. I was able to get 2 comics in that lunch break because of that one. So.
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah.
Then we got Batman 181 Facsimile Edition.
I'll be getting this just to hang on my wall. So.
Oh, because Poison Ivy's on the cover. I was like, why?
It's the first appearance.
I was like, why? You don't get by these. I'm like, and then I saw the cover.
It's got my lady.
We have Batman Incorporated issue 8. I am shocked that's an ongoing. I honestly thought that was like a 6-issue mini. Then we got Batman The Adventures Continue season 3 issue 5. Bit of a mouthful, but it's accurate as to what it is. More interesting though, after that we have Batman Superman World's Finest issue 15 with Dan Mora on the art again, which is nice. Maybe he was in the last one, but like they definitely missed an arc. That first cover is gorgeous with Batman and Superman. It's absolutely stunning. Is that Mora?
I believe it is.
Yeah, it's Mora. Yeah, it's got really interesting coloring that makes it look different to his other work, but it's gorgeous.
For sure.
So yeah, no, cool stuff. Yeah, and we've got some Professor Ivo stuff in this one, so neat.
Yeah, and someone named Ultramorpho, so I'm wondering if they're playing with Metamorpho.
Oh, maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
And then we have Black Adam issue 11, which is the penultimate issue of that Black Adam series.
I gotta get caught up on that. I will eventually.
Yeah, then we got Catwoman, which of course has like 5 covers. Is issue 55, Tini Howard writing, Nico Leon on the art. And to be fair, the art was good. Like my problem was just the writing with that book. The art was the art was solid when we tried this run. And then we have Danger Street, which looks like a box of cereal with Darkseid on the cover.
If you just saw me chuckle, guys, that's why I scrolled down. I was not expecting cartoon Darkseid.
Vitamin D! Oh, that's so funny!
Yep.
Vitamin D! For Darkseid, get it?
It's naturally fruit flavored.
Oh, that's pretty funny. So that's issue 6 of Danger Street. Obviously more on issue 3 later.
It's got a Shaner cover with the dingbats on there, which looks pretty cool.
Yeah,
but I can't believe that's Fornés doing the cover with Darkseid on the
it just goes to show that like an artist can change their style, and I think if anything as well, the coloring also is doing a lot there because there's all these flat colors. Yeah, but yeah, that's really interesting. All right, next up, do we actually have an issue of Dark Knights of Steel? Yeah, we do. Issue 11.
Number 11.
I feel like every issue, like it's had like at least 2 or 3 months between them recently. Like none of them have been back to back.
But I do remember how the last one ended, so I'm excited to see.
I don't,
pick up here.
but I'll remember when I look at the next issue.
Yes.
So yeah, that's cool. So that's almost going to be done, because that's 11 of 12.
Yep.
Then we got DC Ruby issue 4. Obviously, we don't have much to say on that. Then we have Detective Comics 1072, which is obviously Ramvi and Federici, which is exciting. Federici, of course, has been doing great work. So very nice. Fables 160, which is issue 10 of 12, which is weird to say. I get what they mean though. I kind of appreciate that they can bring it back for like a mini series, but just call it the next numbers. Like I'm all for that. Icon versus Hardware issue 4. And then we have Justice Society of America issue 6, I mean to say, with Jeff Johns and Mikel Janin. Some nice Huntress covers, particularly the second one, which is the Paquette cover. Is good. Then we have Looney Tunes 272, Mad Magazine 32. We have Multiversity, Harley Screws Up the DCU issue 3. This is the Frank Thierry book.
It's the cover. I always pop for a Action Comics #1 where they get the guy, and they put someone in that spot, and it's Harley this time. So
yeah. Then we have your beloved Poison Ivy issue 12, with Wilson and Takara. So neat. I mean, that was announced earlier this month that it's officially going to go beyond that. So that's cool. And then we have Superman Lost issue 3. This is the Christopher Priest Superman book, which is 10 issues long. This is issue 3 of 10. So
that cover with him, I think that's a Lee Weeks cover.
Oh, when he's sitting at the desk.
Yeah, at the desk.
Yeah, he looks all sad.
I'm gonna need that. That's a good cover.
Oh, that's pretty neat. Then we got the Batman Scooby-Doo Mysteries issue 8.
So it's fake Scooby-Doo gang across from them.
Oh god, we got Flash and Mr. Terrific in like with the bubbles on the glass bubbles on their head.
Either Deep Space or Deep Sea.
It's it's an old school 50s Deep Space like pulpy nonsense. There's some nice that Flash family cover where they're all running.
Yes, it is
together. Oh baby,
rushing together.
So yeah, this is a Flash issue 798. Oh, I didn't realize we were so close to 800. Oh my.
8? Yeah, me neither.
So obviously they're building up to something big for issue 800 then. There's no way they're not.
No.
Has it been that long since 750 already? I mean, I okay, technically Flash has been like double shipping for a couple of months, but it's still though, that's still a while since 750. Like time's flying by. My. So yeah, Jeremy Adams still writing. Yeah, very cool. And we're still double shipping in May because we also have 799. Yeah, which it does have some nice covers, but none of them are as nice as that one from the from 798. But cool all the same. Yeah. So yeah, building up to something big. Granny Goodness is involved. Probably my favorite cover of that batch actually for that issue is the one with Granny Goodness with Wally and like restraints. But really cool stuff. So it's interesting that it stayed double shipping, isn't it?
Yeah.
We said that last month, I think. But
maybe once they got into the to the groove of it, they're just gonna let it go until 800.
Yeah, maybe it's just till 800. Maybe once they get hit 800, they'll slow back down again. But that's kind of cool.
See what you did there.
Yeah. Joker, the Man Who Stopped Laughing. That last cover is pretty good for that. The one inside the mouth.
Yes. Very creepy.
It's a Matina cover, I think, actually. It looks Matina-esque. So that's very cool. And then we have the Sandman Universe Dead Boy Detectives issue 6. So cool. Not going to even try and say the guy's name because there's no way I can. Tim Drake Robin issue 9 up next. I thought that was a mini as well, but there it is. Issue 9 still going. Very cool. Waller versus Wildstorm issue 2. I guess this is one of these things that gets announced and I forget exists. So then we get to issue 2 and I'm like, wait, what? This exists? This is a Black Label 4-issue book. So this is issue 2. So prestige size. Actually, I mean the page count's not actually any bigger. It's just it's prestige, I think, in page size, but not in thingy. But yeah. So yeah, cool. WildC.A.T.s issue 7. That's still going. And then we have a Wonder Woman 799, so that's also about issue 800. It's a shame we've all fallen off that.
Yeah.
So it means we don't get to celebrate issue 800. Although I'm sure it's going to be like 100-page, you know.
Yeah. Well, this has art by Terry Dodson in it, so yeah, I might check this out just because of that. But because it seems
what's interesting.
It's two-part.
Yeah, it says this is a two-parter, so it's a two-part celebration of Wonder Woman. So obviously 800 is going to be a bigger part of it, but that's kind of weird. That makes it harder to just sort of jump into read issue 800 to celebrate it. That's a bit of a shame. Yeah, I don't know. I wonder if they'll announce a new creative team soon. Maybe maybe it's my bias. I'm hoping for it. I want to read Wonder Woman again. You know?
Yeah. No, I don't. I don't disagree. That's why. And then I saw Dotson's art. I was like, oh, this is the time. And then it said, oh, dang.
Yeah, it's all the same team. So that's the end of the single issue. So just to wrap up with the last of the collections, we have Absolute Batman Court of Owls, which is issues 1 to 11 of the New 52 Batman series. So speaks for itself, basically. Then we have Absolute Preacher Volume 2, which is a reprint. This is a new edition, because I've done all these before, but this is Volume 2, issues 27 through 40, plus a couple of specials. Absolute Transmetropolitan, Volume 2, again, they've done all these before, it's a new edition, the Warren Ellis book. Then we have Batman Arkham Catwoman, which is just a collection of like notable Catwoman stories. These are kind of like coffee table books, and I kind of get why they exist as a sort of collection of stuff, but I would never actually want to just sit and read like a book like this. You know, just random issues.
It's random issues. It says it collects greatest tales from Batman #1, number 355, Catwoman from 89, 1 to 4, Catwoman 93, 54, Catwoman 2002, 25, Catwoman Secret Files and Origins 1, and Superman's Girlfriend Lois Lane 70 and 71. So it's kind of just like a hodgepodge of...
Yeah, it's just a collection of stories.
But it's got a great... is that a Middleton cover? No. It says cover by Middleton, but the signature is not Middleton. So...
Yeah, that doesn't look like Middleton, does it? No.
No, but I like that cover. That cover is really nice. So...
we got Batman Detective Comics Volume 2, Fear State. So this is the second Tamaki volume and softcover. Then we got DC versus Vampires All Out War Part 1. What do you mean Part 1? That's the miniseries.
Yeah, 128 pages, so I think that's only... Well, it was only 6 issues, right?
That was a 6-issue mini, yeah, but this is issues 1 to 3.
It collects 1 through 3 and DC versus Vampires Hunters.
Alright, so there was like 2 of those one-shots, so they're kind of milking it then by they're doing like 3 issues and then one of the one-shots, which is like an annual size, and then they're going to do it again for the second half. That's kind of sketchy, DC. Like, couldn't you have just done one book that was like the miniseries and both one-shots as like the main tie-in trade? No? Okay, well... I call shenanigans on that. DC Mech hardcover. They're really giving hardcovers to everything these days, aren't they? I wouldn't have expected that. Deathstroke Inc. Volume 1 by Williamson. Green Lantern Corps by Tomasi and Gleason Omnibus Volume 1.
Yeah.
Look at that.
This is my era of Green Lantern. I love this book. The Corps. So
Volume 1, presumably of 2. I don't think there's enough for a third volume.
So this is Recharge 1 through 5, Lantern Corps 1 through 3, skipping the Dave Gibbons story, which is weird, which is 4, 5, and 6, 7 through 38.
Isn't that because it ties into the main Green Lantern book, though? It's like a crossover?
No, that story, no. So this one does, but that other story did this weird undercover thing that doesn't really tie into the rest of Green Lantern, and I love that a lot because it was so different. So, but it's missing that, and then it jumps back to 7 through 38, Green Lantern 21 through 25, Sinestro Corps Special. So
it's collecting all the Sinestro Corps War, which is interesting because if you read the Jeff Johns Green Lantern omnibus alongside this, you'll have all those same issues again. So there's a little bit of overlap there, but I guess it's just so that you can read either one on its own without feeling like you're missing what the main story is. So that's interesting. It's got a couple of the Blackest Night relevant issues as well. I mean, obviously that's nice to go along with the Green Lantern omnibus if you've got the Johns collection, so that makes sense. I Am Batman Volume 1 by John Ridley, paperback. Sword of Azrael, softcover. Teen Titans Go box set issue 2, box set volume 2, you know what I mean. Then we have The Flash Volume 18, Search for Barry Allen. Wait, they're still numbering them from the start of Rebirth?
So it seems like
we're on Volume 18, they didn't renumber with Jeremy Adams? Whoa, that's nuts. But yeah, okay. So that's 780 to 789. It's actually quite a meaty trade, to be honest. It's 10 issues, but cool. Then a Joker, a puzzle box, soft cover, the Unwritten Compendium one, by Mike Carey and Peter Gross.
Is that Tommy Taylor?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Young Justice Target, soft cover, that was that miniseries. And that wraps up. That's the end of the alphabet. So that is the Solicits for me.
Meaty.
Yeah, it was a meaty set. There's a lot of new stuff in there. You got the Titans book, you got the new Shazam book, new Green Lantern book, plus those new Asian characters, there's 3 of those. Quite a meaty selection of books. What's weird though is there wasn't a lot for week 5 other than the 2 that I noticed, and neither one of which felt like ones that I would want to read.
Yeah.
Unless there was some other stuff for those dates. I'll tell you what, I'll control F it. What date was that?
Yeah, you control F it.
It was like control F 30. There we go. So Power Girl Special is on week 5. The new talent showcase is on week 5. The Suicide Squad Kill Arkham Asylum issue 1 is on week 5. And then that's it. Damn, week 5. Wow. We better think of something funny to do that week because there's bugger all out. Oof, hopefully sometimes we'll get delayed. Any week 5. That's what we can hope for now. Okay. All right. Well, that's the Solicits. Cool. All right. Oof. All right. So, shall we talk about books? I feel like my voice needs a rest, but yeah.
Yeah.
Talk about the comic books that come out. So cool. Lazarus Planet Various is so basically this section is Lazarus Planet catch up. There's a couple of stories from a few of these over the last few weeks. We kind of decided after the first 2 that we didn't really want to read all these one shots, but what they've effectively acted as for the most part is that a lot of them are just stories that are setting up later things in the year, whether it be miniseries or new books or
back in the day when I was reading Wizard magazine, they would offer these mail-aways, right? And all you had to do is pay for postage, and they were 0 issues, and they were like these promotionary style things that the Marvel and DC usually would put out. These felt like 0 issues of the comics. They're just little teases of what's to come with these characters.
But it's a lot of them because it's like 6 or 7 one-shots over the space of 2 months.
Yeah.
So we'll look at a story from Legends Reborn first. So we probably wouldn't rate any of these because we're not doing any full issues. But so this is the City Boy story that's in this by Greg Pak and Mikhail Jung, who are the team that are going to be on the miniseries that comes out starting in May. And it was the character arriving in the city. And very quickly, he touches the ground. So he already has a power. Like, he already has part of his power, because he touches the ground, and he sees, like, kind of the... Almost like, I don't want to say the blueprints, but he sees, like, sort of like a...
It's like not a blueprint. What's the word I'm looking for here?
It's like connections. He sees connections under the ground that, like, connected with the... And he finds a Batarang under a bench, and then the Lazarus rain kind of strikes him, and that's when this weird, like, rat made of trash forms in front of them, and becomes kind of his little pet here. And he ends up going down the ground, which he can do, by the way, just by touching it. He kind of, I wouldn't say he phases through. It's more like it's probably closer to
it absorbs him, kind of.
Yeah, it's kind of close to what Sand from like JSA kind of does, but not. It doesn't look the exact same, but it's kind of similar.
No, kind
of similar. Nightwing kind of catches wind of this and sort of follows him down at the sewer, and goes after him, tries to save him from drowning. But he's looking for this tiara down there, and when he touches it, he sees like the history of it, and he sees this young woman who loses it, it flies off into the water, and she's then like arrested for losing it seemingly. And she spends time in jail, and now she's an old woman. And this is what he was here to do. So, like, it's hooked to make us care about him and like him and see empathy in him, is that he's getting this to give to this old woman who's been miserable all these years, and he drops it off at the end of the story. It's kind of a sweet moment. And he gives Nightwing his Batarang back because it was a real one. So, that's basically the story.
Not before, if I remember right, he gives him a ration a little bit of it not being as valuable or something. Like there's a quip that City Boy gives him. He's like, oh, you can have this back. I wouldn't get much for it anyways. Something like that. Yeah. So shows his character a little bit. He's a bit of a hustler, you know. I got a little confused at the name because I trying to remember that character that we met in Ram V Swamp Thing. That like the guy that could talk to cities, you know. Because there was that whole part with the Parliament of Gears and stuff. So I thought it would be more like that, and it's a little bit different. So
yeah, it's a little different. No, this is it's an interesting power. It's certainly out of the power sets that are shown in these short stories, this was the one that seemed the most interesting to me because it felt very unique.
It stood out in then versus some of these other stories that we've gotten.
Yeah, I'm very glad to have Pac back at DC, and it makes me excited to read more of this when it comes out. This is probably the one conceptually I'm the most interested in, just based on the short story. This was the only one that I read from this particular issue. So
I've read them all, but with my brain being what it is lately, I don't remember what else was in that one. Yeah, I remember that story very well.
Yeah, but you read this a week or two ago, so it's not like it's fresh in your brain.
No, 2 weeks ago at this point.
So the next one that has a story in it that I wanted to mention, Lazarus Planet: The Next Evolution, issue 1. This has the Ram V story. The Vigil. This one is in some ways is the weakest though, not because it's badly written, but just because it's actually following Red Hood investigate something, and then the Vigil just show up kind of really towards the end, and we only get the briefest of glimpses of who they are, which is fine from like an introduction point of view. We see like how skilled they are.
It keeps them in mystery too, right? Like because we never get a full good look, and we only get Jason's reaction to them. So
like we see kind of the very acrobatic one sort of dodging bullets, so we don't really get a good sense of what their powers are necessarily.
I believe her name is Dodge, based off of the Solicits and the
that's probably a wise guess. And there's one with the white mask with the red stripes on it. So we see 3 of them here in this, and they just kind of like sort of, you know, we're not enemies unless you really want us to be. Red Hood, we're on the same side, and they go away in a little boat, and that's it. They're just like, see you soon. So as far as introducing the characters goes, this is probably the least information we get out of any of them. So it's hard to
mainly all set up for the, you know, like I said, it's like a 0 issue, and that. So we get the Barris.
But barely though. The City Boy one still gives you more of what he does and who the character is. This doesn't do that. So what I'm saying is that I think these characters, they seem like they might be entertaining and fun, but I don't really know yet because like I haven't really had enough of them to.
I was kind of disappointed because I picked up this issue because of Ram V on the title, and then there was these characters that I wasn't familiar with and brand new. Did not realize at the time they were going to be getting their own book, right? So I'm like, where is this leading to? Are they going to show up in like tech or whatever? And then we find out this week they're getting their new books. So.
I mean, I'm excited for the book because it's Ram V, and I'm assuming he'll make an interesting group of characters that we'll get into. There's just not a lot to glean from this short story that introduces them, because it doesn't really introduce them. It just teases they exist, basically. So that was that. There was another story in this I read because it caught my eye after it, and it's a Flatline story. And it caught my eye partly because I saw the last page and went, wait a minute, I feel like I need to know what's going on here. So Flatline is being called to, like, she's got this new, well, kind of a new power from the Lazarus reign, which the dead's calling to her, and she goes to like a hideout that she's been drawn to, fight some League of Assassins, particularly Ubu, who's there, who's Ra's al Ghul's old bodyguard. And the end of this issue, the big thing that we need to talk about is the fact that she seemingly brings Raz back to life. She opens his urn, and her power, whatever it is, from the Lazarus resin, just makes him appear again, and he's like, "Ah, yes, I'm back. Don't mind Ubu. Try to protect my urn."
Yeah. Also, don't mind the fact that we saw Ubu die at the hands of the Orgums in Tech. Don't and the voice for this Ubu was not. It was a rough read. Yeah. Also, when she opened the urn, all I could think of was Undertaker and pallbearer. Just
Sure.
So I mean, I've never met it more flatline. I'm curious to see where this goes because, of course,
I mean,
something called Lazarus Planet. I'm expecting some form of Algol. Was not expecting a Fallen Resurrection, and I don't think this is what it's going to be. I think there's a little bit, something else going on.
There could be more to it. I mean, I like the Laura Braga art. I like the voice for, I thought Flatline was fine. Like her kind of talking about Damien as kind of this like weird boyfriend she has is kind of entertaining. So, what was that noise?
The Ubu dialogue was rough for me. There's just the cadence was weird, and it just wasn't. Not that I'm like I have a familiar.
Yeah, I don't think
I'm familiar with Ubu, but it was just the dialogue. Yeah, this could have been any henchman.
I don't think I know his dialogue enough to even notice that something was off, to be honest. Yeah. But
it's just any henchman. It just felt weird and stilted, and not the way people tend to talk. So, yeah.
But I mean, honestly, I read it because it seemed like I should probably know that Ra's al Ghul was alive again, and like, okay, why is he alive? Okay, it's something to do with Flatline's new power. Fine. So
what? Remind me what her actual power is. I know it has something to do with she sees the dead.
Well, I don't remember. Why are you asking me that?
I'm gonna look. I thought you would remember.
Oh. Entire podcast grinds to a halt because Matt has to check what her power is.
Yep. Metahuman permanently okay, yeah. So she can permanently assimilate the skills and knowledge of anyone who dies in her hands.
Yeah, well, she mentions that in this short story. She got her skills from her her grandfather, who was like an assassin or something like that.
But I couldn't remember exactly what they were. I just remember she's a really good fighter from the League of Lazarus stuff. So
yeah. So the one that came out this week was Lazarus Planet Dark Fate. I actually read 3 of the 4 of these stories. There's only one that I skipped. The first one's a Huntress story by Tim Seeley and Valdemar Rivas. And it's all right. Like I didn't love it, but like I'm down for more Huntress.
I'm down for this because it seems like it's doing stuff of, and I don't think it is the Crime Bible, but it feels very much of the Crime Bible in that like it's this cult that's popping up around Killer Moth as the anti-Batman, and it seems like a higher power is talking to him, and Helena's talking about how she was raised, like her and Batman will never see eye to eye because she was raised by the mob basically, and she's sees crime from a different perspective than Batman does. It's not just this black and white thing, and she can hear this higher voice talking to her too. And then you get to the end, she talks about that it's her own conscience, and she has to come above that, and that's what makes her Huntress. I thought it was a very interesting take, and seeing her fight through all of these different characters through Arkham Tower, I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah, we had Onomatopoeia. We had some. What was the other character after him?
You had Onomatopoeia. You had the Musketeer guy, or the Cavalier, not the Musketeer. Killer Moth, and there was one more. Who else was?
Well, it builds up to Killer Moth because Killer Moth's the one who's sort of leading the cult and saying that he's like the criminal's version of Batman. He's there to like rescue the villains effectively.
Yeah, it was the guy that
the Zodiac one, Zodiac Master.
Yeah, well, and then there was one more too that was speaking in Latin, and that Batman had come up against before. Was that the Zodiac guy? No, there was another one. Anyways, I like the concept of it. I'm curious to see where this goes from here because I like that Helena is kind of tied to Arkham Tower since that Tamaki run, right? And she feels like she has unfinished business there. So yeah, surprised how much I like this one.
Yeah, the thing here to note is at the end, the Lazarus rain is like dripping down into like a cell at the bottom. I mean, like my first guess was
someone that was asleep, right? That they mentioned.
it says danger, do not wake. I mean, my first guess was Croc just because it was in the sort of basement area, but like, I mean, I don't really know. It does say though to be continued summer of 2023, and I don't think we know where this is going to be continued yet. No. It could be in a Bat book, it could be in a miniseries, it could be in a number of things. We don't know. But it is setting up something for later in the year, so worth pointing out. But it was an alright story. And then the second story, which I was delighted when I got to the second page and realized what it was. It's a little lead into the Doom Patrol mini that's coming. And when I say it's a lead in, all I really mean is that it's a little adventure with the Doom Patrol characters and sets up who the new chief is by the end. Just so we've got like a new status quo getting into this new mini. And I'm assuming the miniseries will explain this more in depth anyway. But basically, the Doom Patrol are called in by this military a general.
Someone that used to know Trainer, right? He was his commanding officer at one point.
Yeah. So it's Elasta Woman, Robot Man, and Negative Man who show up, and basically this Lazarus Reigns created a new meta-human out of one of the soldiers into space. So the Doom Patrol are set in, and we find out that he's been kind of taking over other soldiers, and he's got all these like demonic clowns and just all this fungus around, and the Doom Patrol start to get like trapped by it, and it turns out that only Negative Man isn't like affected. Something to do with his radiation in his body stops this sort of like growth like coming over him. Even Chainsaw Nun shows up as backup, and she gets like defeated. So
this is the first experience I had with Chainsaw Nun, and it was a delight. Like,
I mean, it's a great page turn because like, hey, we need backup, and like, you know, someone says, okay, we're sending in backup, and you turn the page, and it's like Chainsaw Nun who has chainsaws like growing out of her hands, looking quite like, demented. What is
this? This is light and fun.
It's very Silver Agey feeling, I would say. So yeah, Negative Man goes and talks to the person at the epicenter of this, who's this kind of... It's funny that The Last of Us is airing right now, because this is like a fungus person. They've got mushrooms growing out of their head. And Negative Man basically says, look, let us help you deal with what's happened to you. And this person's obviously scared and depressed and acting out. And Negative Man's like, look, I was in shock when what happened to me happened, and I'm still here. I've learned to cope with it and start a new life with this condition. And basically convinces this character to come back with the Doom Patrol, which the military guy's not happy about, but they're like, no, we're taking this character deserves the same the same care and affection that the rest of the Doom Patrol get.
Yeah, and because what the Doom Patrol offers, right? Is and this military guy wants to talk to the chief.
So I suppose that's the other thing it sets up, is that this character may actually be a new member in the book. You know, the miniseries may actually have this character as a new ongoing character.
Yeah.
So that's very cool. So
do you want to say who the new chief is?
Well, yeah. So the guy like mentions, Dr. Calder, blah blah blah, and then like, you know, Chainsaw Nun swoops in and says, yeah, they're not the new chief. And it turns out that it's one of the personalities of Crazy Jane, which we should mention as well. Chainsaw Nun's one of the personalities as well, like just to make that clear, because I don't think we did make that clear.
No,
that's also a Crazy Jane character, because you know, they mention, because obviously one of the other Crazy Jane characters we see is what's her name, Flint or Flit?
Flint.
That's the one that can teleport, which they make good use of, as Flit teleports them into the scene and then teleports them away at the end. But it's one of the Crazy Jane personalities as the new leader of the Doom Patrol, which is a really interesting way of pivoting. She's in like a business suit. She's got like a sort of gold
half mask kind of
it's
going.
Kind of like just a gold face mask, basically, as if she's still in the pandemic.
Right.
But honestly,
very enjoyable. This is the most I've enjoyed Doom Patrol in a long time.
I was looking forward to the miniseries. This just kind of like affirmed me. I was like, oh, cool. Like, I like this. I'm looking forward to it. I'm into it. Give it to me, kind of thing.
Yeah, them going and finding these, you know, people changed by the reins or whatever it's going to be. I think that's a good use of.
Honestly, it makes me want to go back and continue Morrison's run. It makes me want to go back and read the Jared Way stuff.
Yeah.
From was that early Rebirth? That stuff was coming.
That was Young Animal. So
that was before I'd read any Doom Patrol. So that series was really confusing when I tried it. But now I'm a lot more well versed.
Yeah. I mean, you have a lot better handle on characters than I do. So I got up to like issue 8 or 9 of the Morrison stuff. And I just I had to tap out. It was getting too weird for my liking. So yeah.
I know, that's great. Yeah, I skipped the next story. I looked at it and went, I don't look like
it's so this kid that lives in the Nevada desert where they want to put nuclear fallout waste. The fight between the Flash and the Turtle had came through there. So what him and his friend do is they put on a one-man show or a two-person show where they alternate playing the Flash and the Turtle, and the Lazarus rain manifests there, and it instills him with the still force, and so and instills him and someone else with like this explosion of energy. He's able to use the still force to stop the explosion and basically take it away and essentially act as a circuit breaker. He's able to channel energy and stop it from going anywhere else as like an overflow. So Avery shows up because she feels it like a Speed Force-y thing.
Avery, the Flash character.
The Flash character. And thinks that he's the Turtle because he's wearing his green turtle costume from the stage show that he does. And he goes, oh, no, this is all new. And she goes, oh, okay, well, I learned that the Flash needs friends and family. And there's a to be continued in another special coming out this summer. So it was okay. Like, it wasn't the best. It took me a little bit to get through just because it's such a weird concept for an introduction for characters. But
yeah, I looked at the art. I was like, you know what? I don't think I want to read this one. And
it was iffy.
I just skipped it. So. Yeah, I just skipped it. The last story, of course, though, is the one that was the more relevant to the reason why I wanted to read some of these stories, and that is the Spirit World story by Alyssa Wong and Haining, who are going to be on the miniseries when it comes out. So there's definitely some Japanese like video game / anime influence in the art of this.
Yes.
Just because the main character has this stupid big sword, which is very Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
Very, 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 very Final Fantasy. And then so basically we goes into a cemetery and starts like hacking away at the hopping which I guess this hopping vampire or hopping zombie thing is a real thing, because I watched a movie right for a bonus episode of the Ace, which is our science fiction movie podcast, which you can get over on YouTube and Mail Fuzz Movies. You can find the audio feed, the Atomic Cinema Experiment, on your podcast app of choice. That's my plug. But we did a bonus episode really early on in the show for Patreon called Robo Vampire, and
God, such a Pete movie to watch.
It's a really stupid movie, right? Yeah. But there's these vampires in it who just sort of hop, like really, and they've got their arms out and they just kind of hop towards people. And I just thought it made me laugh so much because it was just so stupid. But this is the third time I've seen it referenced in something. Yeah. And I'm like, is this actually a thing in like Asian lore?
I think Asian, yeah. So Asian spirits and monsters are quite a bit different than the Western. There's a lot more with the folklore and why they hop and stuff. And I'm not too familiar with these. I have heard of them though, from myth and legends type stuff. So to see that, and these ones seem more like spirits more than like actual vampires, like flesh and blood here. So yeah.
So the main character is called Xanthe. Just
Xanthe.
So we've got a name for them. Cassandra Cain shows up to help fight the villains, and they make a point of mentioning that Cassandra Cain is the only Bat character who usually comes into Chinatown. Yeah. So it's kind of like, oh, okay, so that's she like patrols this area that none of the other Bat characters do more often. I also like the idea that Xanthe was just talking out loud and hoping one of the Bat members is showing up. And I like Cass asked him, what were you gonna do if I wasn't there? He's like, be very embarrassed. Yeah. It was pretty funny. So the big thing is Constantine also shows up, and chaos happens. All of the spirits and whatever all combine Transformer style into like a weird tree demon thing. And it's like, okay, we have to fight back. But the cliffhanger, and it does have a cliffhanger, is Cassandra gets shifted into the spirit world, which is something it's the name of the book, so I assume it's going to be explored. It'll be explained more in depth in the actual miniseries. So they talk about that also, that Xanthe can go through the gateway that happened to be under that tree creature, right? And that was the reason that the hopping vampires were coming out and whatever, and that Constantine was alerted to it. So the fact that when they defeated this tree monster thing, it pulled Cass into, it seemed like a collateral damage kind of deal. Yeah. So obviously it's a little bit rushed because it's only 10 pages or whatever, but it does have a cliffhanger that leads into what this miniseries is going to be. It involves cast, which is nice. It's probably the one I'm least excited about, just because again, it's as far as the creative team goes, I'm just more excited for the other two based on the names. But I thought this flowed well. Some of the lines made me laugh. There was enough potential here that I'm into.
The idea that Xanthi is the type of person that can flam Constantine, I thought was pretty funny as well.
Yeah.
Because Constantine starts yelling like, "You sold me these magical papers." Like, well, you weren't using them right. They're they'll manifest in the spirit world, which is I'm sure will come into play for Cass, like, needing to get her things. All these papers will come back through. But yeah, just the idea that Constantine got worked here, by Xanthi, I thought was pretty funny, because not that I'm not familiar with Constantine, but Constantine's usually the one that's pulling one over on other people. So
yeah,
it was all right. I'm not a fan of the art though. That's just me. It's a taste thing. It was okay, but it wasn't like you're talking about there's some anime or manga flourishes in there.
I was saying that more in a design aesthetic as opposed to the art itself. I mean, not that the art itself doesn't have any influence, but it was more just the design of the big sword and all that stuff.
But like even some of the faces and stuff are feeling, of that style, and it all feels very much by choice.
I will say that the concept of this, like the spirit world and the more magic-y side of things, does mean that this also has maybe the biggest chance of being the one that I don't like as much.
Yeah.
But, I'll give it a fair shake. I certainly enjoyed the characterization enough in this story to at least give it a try when it comes out.
Yeah.
But it's definitely the one out of the three that's the more tenuous. Like, it's the one that's closer to the, But we'll see. So yeah, that was quite a little chunk of talking about comics there. But like, it felt. It was a quieter week. It felt worth going back and looking at some of the relevant stories that were leading into these new books. So hopefully this was an interest, especially if you didn't read all of these or you didn't check out these one shots. Hopefully this was just a little bit of informative catch up and maybe some of the more relevant things that they've done. So cool. We'll move on. Batgirls issue 15. Becky, Cloonan, and Michael Conrad writing, with Neil Googe on the art. So last issue was the silent issue with Cass looking for Steph. This issue starts off, we see Cass on her way on the motorbike, and obviously she's going to jump in eventually. But most of this issue is Steph with her father tied up in the cabin as he monologues and explains what he's doing. He wants to reconnect with his daughter. He's got this Luger, all this stuff. He's playing like a weird. He's done like a little rig of a game show. He wants to play a game show with her. And when she gets answers wrong, he's going to electrocute her. Dad of the year, everyone. Give him a round of applause. Dad of the year.
It sucks. Yeah. Oh man, he's terrible.
Yeah. So I had fun with the issue though. I thought because we got such a Cass-centric issue last time, it was nice that this was more of a Steph-focused issue, and it was more about her sort of like, no, I'm not like you. I'm kind of like you. I can admit in what ways I'm like you, but I'll get.
But that doesn't define me. It's her choosing to be Batgirl despite her upbringing is what defines her and her relationship to Barbara and Cass, and I like that a lot because the note that in the last issue, because I read these back to back, and the note in the last issue was really dire. Like, I didn't remember you talking about it. It sounded like it was a suicide note almost, like, or not a suicide note, but like if you are reading this,
it was a goodbye note. It was like
and just so that really built the stakes. And so as she's thinking like this is it, she's gonna go down fighting, and her realizing that it's Cass, that's her relationship with Barbara and Cass and being a Batgirl, I think, is what makes Steph. I really like that.
Yeah, I think what I really like about these last couple issues is it really addresses one of the complaints I had about the first arc of the book, which is it was so overstuffed. I feel like these last few issues have been so well paced and like nice and focused on one particular thing that this felt like it had stakes. Like, Cass coming to save Steph felt like it had stakes. So when something shocking happens later, it did actually like knock the wind out of me a little bit, and it kind of had a bit of impact. So I appreciate that. Before we get to all that stuff though, I want to mention there's a couple of things in the art I love in the first half. I love how over the top Clue Master's like facials are in some panels. Whenever there's a panel where he gets angry and says "no, wrong again," and he's holding his Luger, the way his mouth is open and the way his eyes look I think is phenomenally over the top and cartoony. I loved it.
Yeah.
The next page has another big one as well, and then that's when Cass jumps in afterwards. But yeah, so
Yeah.
Cass fights Cluemaster, unties Steph. It's a whole thing, and Cluemaster, basically goes nuts. Goes to blow up the cabin because he's rigged it to blow up. There's fire around him, and he's so obsessed. He's like, no one leaves till I say they do, and he fires his gun at Cass, but Steph jumps in to take the bullet, and Steph gets shot right in the middle of the chest. And I actually, Joe, for a second, it looks like Cluemaster is going to shoot himself in the head because he's just shot his daughter. And it's only because Cass batarangs the gun out of his hand that he doesn't do it. So it gets really dark for a moment.
It says that, you live with what you've done.
Yeah.
So reading it digitally, right, you can't feel how close you are to the. I thought that was the end of the book. I thought we were leaving on, oh man, Steph got shot, and that really was a goodbye letter. And I was shocked. And then I turned the page and there was more book, and I go, oh, phew. And that's where we see Cass with the batarang and on Cluemaster.
Then we have like Cass holding Steph as she's dying, and like the art really makes it clear that Steph dies here. Yeah. And I was like, what the hell? You get this full page spread as well. She's already kind of died, but then there's a full page spread of the flames behind her. You see Cass having the tear come out. And then the last issue actually set up that Cass had stolen some of this Lazarus resin or whatever it is from the League, which was in the last issue. And she pulls it out and she pours it into her mouth. Cluemaster says that that's how Cluemaster's back, because he was brought back by Lazarus.
Yep.
And Cass pulls down part of her mask and is like sort of like and kisses Steph in the forehead. It's a really sweet moment, and I think this friendship that's formed between these two since the start of the book is really kind of the heart of it and is really sweet. So this was a really nice two-parter that kind of like, I'd say two-parter, even like three-parter, including the body swap annual. Just as a really nice story. It's this really nice thing that pays off.
Character and relationship defining.
Yeah, because it's character first and plot second, which is something that the start of this book was really suffering with. It was like just so much plot, and I think it's done for the better. So yeah, Cluemaster's arrested. Cass takes Steph back. They explain that she's okay and that the Lazarus didn't have any side effects because it was like immediately. It was like, she just died. Lazarus went in. She's okay. Right. Which, don't get me wrong, like part of me is like, okay, I do wish like death was a bit more lasting, but the moment itself was so well done that I'm not too mad. Shocked.
Although I still kind of would like to see a little bit of a mania in her, and that play into, am I my father's daughter? Right? Like, because he is super unhinged throughout this. And is that up to the Lazarus? Is that why he's so unhinged?
Yeah, well, they kind of imply that he's more unhinged than he was before because of like how he was brought back.
And they also hint that it was Mad Hatter. It was Jervis.
Yeah, well, there's someone comes to see him in prison and says, "Hey, can you like give us some clues? Because that's what you love to do, right? You love to give clues as to anything related to Jarvis Tech, and because he's wanted, and so. But he seems like he's really like the fact that he killed his daughters really seems to be hitting him hard. Despite the fact that he's a complete prick, he does seem to have like been hit hard that he's done this. And we get a quick scene with Steph and Cass sharing a moment on the roof. So yeah, but they're like, we're going after Matt Hatter and all that, and
pretty good three little issue to stop in, right? Depending on where this goes and the time, I might stick on it. Because I do like Cass.
Why are you so back? I thought because you caught up, you were sticking on it.
Just because, like, again, it all depends on if I have time to read. Like this week, if it's another bare week, then absolutely. But if it starts getting pile up again, I'm just trying to set expectations here.
Okay.
But, yeah, it's very good though, and I didn't even miss Babs. Someone that was so core to the first couple that I read. I just like it that it's Cass and Steph.
Yeah, I'm sure Babs will pop back in and out, but we're getting Babs and Nightwing anyway, so it's not like we're missing her in terms of like just in general. But no, like it ends with them having the moment on the roof, talking about taking on Mad Hatter and feeling quite confident about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a little tease at the end. Though there's one little scene, one page with the podcaster like Chick who was in like the earlier stories.
Mm-hmm.
And she gets delivered a head, like a bust of a head, with a note saying "Read me." And the text says "Next, a very important date." But there's like blood on this like statue head as well. So it's sort of setting up the next villain and what we're doing in the next arc.
Mm-hmm.
It's a nice little moody tease at the end for next time. So, no, I enjoyed it. I think this book, I think honestly, as soon as it got out of the first arc, it started to improve. I think since we had, since we just slowed down a little bit, but I do think the annual until this issue has been the best the book has been, and I hope that it keeps picking up. So yeah, I'm enjoying it. I think if you like these characters, there's probably something to enjoy here. Admittedly, the first arc was a little bit of a rough step in. Though.
Yeah, and because I mostly listen to you when you talk about these, I'm not that lost, right?
Yeah.
So when the podcaster person put it up, I was kind of vaguely familiar, but the mystery is just there too. That if you were just hopping on, let's say with the annual or whatever, the writing is not that far out. That you can't just pick it up, which is nice. I always like when that, because there's in modern comics that kind of write for the trade. If you pop in on a random thing like this, it's not always as forgiving. But maybe it's just the style of who's writing this? It's Conrad and
Cloonan.
Cloonan. Maybe their style just lends itself better to that. I'm not sure. To picking up, but yeah, no, Cass and Steph forever.
Yeah. Nope, I had a good time. What you rating? Batgirls 15?
I'm gonna give it 7.5.
It's a comfortable 8 out of 10 for me. I'm really glad I'm enjoying this book because I really wanted this book for a long time, and it was a bit of a bummer that it was a bit shaky early on. But it has definitely grown. And given that this is the same pair of writers that I jumped away from Wonder Woman on, it's almost like not a miracle, but like a nice surprise that this book's been getting better rather than languishing and getting worse like Wonder Woman did from them. So, that's cool. All right. WildC.A.T.s issue 4, Matthew Rosenberg with Steven Segovia. Matt, you read this, so
So, this jumps around a lot, and this is, I guess, it was just Rosenberg style. Is that we left with Grifter falling out of the helicopter into enemy territory during the Civil War, where they were getting the diplomats kit out, and as he's on the ground, he starts fighting back, guerrilla tactic style against these. He calls them ethnic cleansers, but I'm not sure that's what it is. Whatever's going on in the Civil War in this unnamed country, and he's, doing his best to take them out, like best he can without getting the people around him involved. And so he starts to question about all of this because he's like, yeah, I just saved that guy, but who knows what he was up to before, like, that led to the Civil War, right? And it's kind of like this, Grifter's morals are kind of loose and all over the place, you don't
say.
Yeah, right. And it just reinforces that, like, he's trying to find justification for not helping. It's like he's at odds with this heroic part of himself. What's her name? Zealot and Fairchild go to Marlowe to try to get Grifter back, and Marlowe's security robots stop. We find out there's more than one of them, and they're all identical. Stop them from talking to Marlowe because Marlowe has this meeting with this very, important artist that he's trying to bring over to the company. And Zealot's is like, well, that's fine. Then just let us talk to the Void. We'll have Void bring him back. And he's like, I can't let you do that. And, Zealot still goes and tries trying to get to Void to get him back. As they're going through this, Grifter's getting into more and more trouble, where as he's fighting this country, ninjas show up, and he's like, oh, just the last thing I need. So in the course of this book, now we've had Court of Owls, and now we have League of Assassins Ninjas and Angel Breaker from what was that, the Batman Deathstroke crossover, Shadow War, yeah. Angel Breaker.
I recognize the name when you said it, but like, I was trying to think, and I'm like, yeah, what the hell was that name in?
Yeah, and he recognizes Angel Breaker. He goes, oh, so that means, he goes, you might try to be Talia, but you'll never be Talia. That was your boss's daughter. And so it shows that he has some familiarity with the League, and they have him dead to rights, and he's just talking about in his inner monologue that he doesn't know how to not fight. He's always going to be at the opposite end of this. And he knows exactly what he needs to do to get out of this. It cuts back over to Zealot and Fairchild, who find the machine. I forget what her name is, but she's the half machine girl. And looks like she's about to start things with 2 of the security robots from Marlowe. And says, hey, you need to get us in touch with Marlowe because we need to know where he is. We need to get Cole back if it's the last thing I do. So they find out that he's at this, from her, they find out that he's at this like gala event with all this art. And I'm thinking this is leading to another WildC.A.T.s character I'm kind of familiar with just because of the green hair. But Marlowe's there to meet with this artist, and he's talking over about his artistic style, and I can see it's from this. And he's got green hair, and he looks like the Warblade. I think his name's Warblade. He's basically, not Wolverine, where he had the metal claws and whatever. But this artist has this green hair, and Zealot and Fairchild come in, and Marlowe's pissed, and he's like, well, no, you're not getting him out. It's, we don't, that's not how we do. We fired him. It was his own choice to go back in there. And then they get a call from Halo Corporation, and they're like, oh, you don't have to worry about Cole anymore because he just came back and it's his dead body. And that's where the issue leaves off. Is it seems like Grifter's dead, and I'm wondering how, the seemingly star of this book is, gonna be able to come back. Although this is not, I feel like this is not, despite the shock on Zealot's face, this might not be the first time Grifter's died, because it seems like he's that expendable to Marlowe that maybe they have some, I don't want to call it a resurrection machine or whatever, or even Lazarus stuff, but it seems like there's some kind of Halo company, scheme at work. We also, in all of this, got a conversation between Zealot and Fairchild that they don't like the idea that this other team gets all the glory for them doing the dirty work, and I think his name is Majestic, the Superman-like character. Someone asks him how his powers work, and he says, oh, I'm Kryptonian, he doesn't say he's Kryptonian, but he says, oh, I get solar radiation like that Kryptonian Superman. And then I guess he gets into trouble. One of the handlers talks to him, like, you're not supposed to be telling Pete stuff about you. So it seems like it's all this smoke and mirrors, but yeah, it's fine. It's just it's sometimes hard to keep up with the pace of the book, because I believe the last issue ended with him falling out of the helicopter. This one picks up immediately with him fighting through this Cold War, or the Civil War, in this unnamed country. But yeah, it's I like what it's doing with Zealot, as she's almost not the main character, but we're seeing her. She's almost like the moral compass of this book, because even though she's this centuries old warrior, she seems to have her heart in the right spot. Even though Cole Carter, is it Carter? Gosh, I can't remember. Even though Grifter is this morally ambiguous, assassin for hire, she cares about him, and as a friend and compatriot. So the art by Segovia is just so on point. All the action sequences are really well drawn. the expressions, like when Zealot catches the machine lady with the robots, the expressions are very funny, and even just the body language of the robots. You know, she's like, oh, I was gonna erase their memories after this anyway, so it's like it never happened. And they go, you did what? She's like, don't act like this is the first time. And just the confusion on the robot's face are very funny. Or I should say android's face, because they are human looking. But yeah, solid. Not, not must read, but it's good. I'll give it a 7 out of 10.
Okay, cool. Danger Street issue 3, Tom King writing with Jorge Fornés on the art. Obviously this is the one we've been looking forward to every month, because it's another King prestige book. This one is a lot harder to remember issues because there's so many threads between issues. That said, though, I think going into, because I kind of reread issue 1 before issue 2 because I was like, damn, do I even remember what all the threads were? I didn't do that this time, and I think I was all right. I was like, okay, I remember all the groups of characters that we were dealing with, and we go into it, and basically, Lady Cop's looking up like different blue superheroes because it's actually a really smart little page. That I really like is that she types in blue people into Google, but then she deletes part of it and puts in superheroes instead. I think it's a smart little way to show her mind like working. Because it's like, okay, this is the first idea. No, wait, I've changed my mind. This instead. And so there's a lot of stuff with her wrestling with a photocopier and looking at different different villains. Meanwhile, we get Metron counseling with Darkseid and Highfather. Basically talking about the death of Atlas and what they need to do to deal with this. Metron talks about going beyond the source wall, and the Atlas is definitely dead because he heard these screams in the beyond.
Yeah. so Metron, who's always this neutral person in the War of Apocalypse in New Genesis, sitting on the chair, and that when Atlas died, so he goes to the source wall and always wonders what's beyond it.
And of course, just to remind everyone, Atlas came through the portal created by Starman and Warlord
and Metamorpho.
They were hoping to kill Darkseid. They got Atlas instead and killed him, which is also the scene that they ended up killing. Well, I say the Starman ended up killing the kid. So just to keep everything straight here, that's what we're talking about here. That's how Atlas died.
So Metron goes to the source wall and always wonders what's beyond it. And when Atlas died, there was enough of a crack that he was able to get through, and goes on this psychedelic trip, and comes across something that really troubles him, and that's what he tells to Darkseid and Highfather. And it's weird to see because everything that I know about the Fourth World and all this Kirby stuff, Highfather and Darkseid are always on opposite ends. And the fact that they're sitting on these thrones together, talking to Metron about what their next course of action is, really powerful.
And what's interesting
imagery
is they're talking about how Atlas's burden is passed on, and there's whoever it's passed on to can still hold up the sky. And they're like, okay, where? And he's like, Earth. And I'm like, okay, who is he talking about here? Like, who's Atlas's burden passed on to? Is it who killed him specifically? Is it did it pass on to maybe the kid or something silly like that? Who did it pass on to?
Yeah. So they're talking about this, and if you know about Atlas, Atlas, was a Titan in mythology that for trying to rise up against Zeus, he ended up having to hold up the sky, right? I don't know how much of Atlas works in the Kirby mythos that he wrote in there. But so they started discussing of who this is how I took it, now I might be wrong, of who could from their side, from the Fourth World, could hold this burden now of Atlas. And they cannot agree. Every time Highfather recommends someone from New Genesis, Darkseid shoots it down, and vice versa.
Hold on a second. No, later on when they're debating who should go to Earth to deal with the situation, it's not debating who should be holding up the sky.
See, that's what I thought. I thought that's who I thought they were passing the burden onto. That it has to be on Earth. So they were sending this person to Earth to assume the burden of
they're saying there's someone on Earth who could be this person who can now hold up the sky.
See, and that's what I thought that they were looking for. That's how I took it, was that's who they were looking for, and this is who they've settled on, was going to assume Atlas's burden.
No. They're sending someone to find the person who's going to replace Atlas. Right, so the dialogue here is there's still someone who might hold up the sky. His burden's been passed on, and they ask Metron where, and he says Earth.
Mm-hmm.
So there's someone already on Earth who has this. Orion, because they pick Orion later on. Orion's not on Earth. Right. Orion's somewhere else killing an alien or something. Like he's. Orion's
right, so I read that wrong. I read that as they have to get this person to Earth to assume, because that's where Atlas died, right? And they have to go to there. So I completely read that wrong, man.
No, I'm pretty confident on this. There's someone already on Earth. Like it's this is there is another line.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's someone else already there who fits this bill. Specifically someone who's been passed on to. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't tell us who that is. We can maybe make some guesses based on the characters in the story, but like that's what it's getting at here. So there's someone on Earth who is like received, probably unknowingly, they probably don't know it yet, but they've received Atlas's burden. I mean, the chances are it's probably either Starman or Warlord, but like maybe that's too obvious. I don't know.
Right. How do we know it's not Lady Cop? Right. She's the one that seems to be
trying to fix everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
Possibly. Yeah. Maybe she was. Maybe it's something to do with the person's character. So she was the nearest one who was like, I don't know, fit to do it or something. I don't know.
Maybe.
But yeah. So Starman and Warlord are like debating what to do, and Starman doesn't want to just hide forever. So they're going to go to this movie shoot to meet with someone, so they set that up for later. The kids, the dingbats, are hanging out in a pool, and this has kind of like a funny twist, this scene, because you think, oh, they're just hanging about in the pool, and it's quite a serious conversation. One of them saying, we need a gun, because we need to find out who killed our friend and kill him, and we can only do that if we have a gun. So that's a really serious, dark conversation for a group of kids to be having. But then the sort of funny punchline to this is that some guy shows up and starts yelling at them because they're in some guy's pool. This is like someone else's pool. Yeah, this is someone else's backyard, and they're just invading.
And it seems like he's like, I told you kids, stay out of my pool. It's like it's something that they keep doing.
Well, no, it sounds like two of them didn't even realize that they weren't allowed to be here, because they say to him, oh, this is why we had to climb the fence then, is it? But they're lounging about in the pool like they're they own the place, like they're supposed to be there. And there's no hint that they're not supposed to be there until this guy shows up, and it's like it's all a bit of a funny thing. Then we have a scene with a manhunter try to take out, because that's the thing, I wasn't even sure who he was going to try and take out, but it's actually one of the green team. He's perched, although he does say it's a test. He says it's test number 4, I think he says. Which is interesting, because it almost implies that he doesn't think he's going to succeed. He's just sort of testing what the response will be to an attempt on his life. And we have this sort of moment where who is this character actually in the black and yellow? I'm forgetting.
That's Codename Assassin.
Thank you. So Codename Assassin sort of senses something's wrong, and there's a gunshot, and he stops the bullet in front of him. He flies up to where Manhunter was, and the gun's left behind, and he's just there. It's a really good scene. It's a really well-paced scene where it's very quiet, where he just flies up and he looks around the room, and there's no one there.
And you have to remember with Codename Assassin, he's telekinetic, and so everything he does is with the intent, and it's just there's a coldness to him. So when he stops the bullet, right, and then starts to take off to where it could come from, it's very eerie. Yeah,
he's following the trajectory back to where the bullet came from. Yeah. So those 2 pages that are very, I mean, they're not quiet in the sense that there's a lot of narration, but they're quiet in dialogue, and it does feel like it's just there's a good atmosphere as he's searching this like empty room. So very good. The art here is excellent. So then we go back to Lady Cop, who's looking at all these blue heroes, and it's like she's got a blue beetle. She's like, no. It's not someone with a blue costume. It's someone with blue skin. It's not this, and it's not this devil looking dude. And she's looking through. There's even electric blue Supermans in this list of characters. And then it stops at Starman, and it turns out that she's actually showing it to like one of the employees that worked at the gas station. Yeah. And he's like, oh, this guy, yeah, it was him and like two other dudes, and they were in a convertible. And she's like, oh, okay. And he has this interesting moment where he ponders, like, why are you showing me all heroes? Everyone you show me, there's a superhero. Why is there no like blue villains that you're showing me? And she doesn't have an answer for him. Which does make me wonder, like, yeah, why is she just immediately assumed it's a hero and not someone else? Like, she's just went straight to hero.
Because all they said was a blue guy, right?
Yeah, and I get why she'd have to consider the heroes, but she's honed in on that immediately as if like she just knows, and maybe that's a hint at the Atlas thing. Maybe this is like this like instinct she's now got. Maybe it's a natural instinct she has anyway. I don't know. It's an interesting little like moment to point out though to the reader.
Well, because I like too, as the guy's looking through him, we get his voice pops through. And he goes, "Oh no, Superman! I know that's Superman." Even though it was the electric blue, right? And it's like the thing that he didn't even know who Starman was, you know. So, but he could recognize him, which again might be a part of this whole thing, because we also see that Starman and Warlord go the meeting they're going to meet one of the Green Team. It's for a movie, right, or a TV show.
Yeah. That's not the next scene though, so I'm not on that yet.
Oh, gotcha. All right.
Yeah, the next scene. The next scene's up with the New Gods again. It's up with Highfather and Darkseid. And just to confirm what I was saying earlier, there's a line here from Highfather when Darkseid suggests Kalibak. He says, "Kalibak, we risk him laying waste to the planet, and it risks losing the one for whom we search." So that just further confirms what I was saying earlier.
Yeah, no, that makes more sense.
Yeah. Because he suggests Light Ray and Darkseid's got a problem with that. He suggests Mantis. They're like, what about Metron? Nah, he needs to stick to his stupid chair. Like all these things.
I do love that neither of them like Metron. I do. That is very funny.
No, it is. Yeah, there's kind of like a dark sense of humor to all their conversations. But then it reveals who they're going to agree on. They all kind of accept Orion as a compromise. So we get Orion stomping this New God's like face in her, whoever he is.
Who I recognize, but I can't remember.
I have no. I don't get me wrong. I assume this is an obscure pull because Tom King does that, but I don't know who it is.
Well, no, that it was somebody that Mr. Miracle dealt with in his solo book. I remember because he's got like a piratey vibe to him. He was like one of Scott's uncles or something. He's one of Darkseid's guys.
Yeah, you're probably right.
And so I can't put my finger on who exactly it was. But yeah, just King here in the way he's able to get into the minds of the New Gods characters is something that few writers I found, because the New Gods are characters that I wish I enjoyed more, just because of the Kirby of it all. But there's something that how Tom King gets into it, like their conversation, like you said, the darkness that's between them, almost like they're able to put aside their silly little war, Highfather and Darkseid, because the death of one of the gods is much more important than this, eons long struggle they've had with one another. And then here too with Orion, where they talk about how he's of both worlds, therefore he's the ultimate compromise, and that played into what we learned about him in Mr. Miracle and what Scott thought about him, that he's just this oafish guy that doesn't really care about anything but war. He doesn't care about the people that are losing, so it's a curious pick, as he's the one that they're going to send to Earth to find the Atlas person.
Yeah. We get a quick scene with Creeper, finding out that his ratings are through the roof. It's doing well. We then go back to the leader of the Green Team, and this is a setup for the next scene, actually, that's kind of separate, because they're talking about the assassination attempt, and this was a test, whoever it was wasn't there, we searched the hotel, but the whole time he's like polishing an arm made of diamond, and you're like, what's this? And you actually get the context for it in the next scene, which is the scene that the movie set with Warlord and Starman talking to the kid director, who he's one of the Green Team, right?
Cecil something.
Yeah. Which was obviously a reference to Cecil DeMille.
Right.
Who's a movie director. So but there's some context here where they've paid the green team this arm, which comes from Metamorpho. They had Metamorpho turn into a diamond, and they took his arm.
Yep.
to pay. To
get a meeting with this kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To get a meeting. Yeah. So. Yeah. Which. It sets up that they're looking for a way out. It's interesting to see like these plots kind of like merge here a little bit, where this is another plot like tying into the Green Team. Yeah. So.
But yeah, so they go dressed in their superhero costumes, and Warlord's like, I don't want to go. I was like this. I'm more than just the barbarian, and as I get talking, he realizes like, oh no. He's going to want to talk with the barbarian. So we have to go. Yeah. And it's all about, maintaining appearances, right? Like, this is who they think we are. So this is who we need to be. And I think that was that playing in with everything else too.
Yeah. So
just the idea of the hero, why is Lady Cop immediately thinking of heroes, not villains and whatever. Yeah. It's all about this perception thing.
So the thing that they're actually wanting from them though, is they effectively want to try and bring the kid back to life. They're here for a way to bring someone back from the dead, and they're talking about payment. And the arm was just to get the meeting. That's not paying for this like service or getting this mystical item or whatever. And they're saying, hey, we can do some mercenary work or whatever. We can do whatever you want to give us this chance. So they're trying to bring the kid back. So they're trying to fix what they did wrong. And the setup at the end of the scene is just that the director wants the Sword of Shambhala, so he's going to send them on a quest to get some mystical item. I don't really know what that is or have any opinion on it yet. Of course, Matt's going to look. Do you want the spelling of Shambhala?
I got it.
All right, okay.
My brain works like Dr. Jones.
Of course it does.
Yeah.
Of course it does. Yeah, I was actually just quickly rereading that page while you were talking because I couldn't remember what the hell they wanted from him. Because the book is quite dense. There's so many characters doing different things that it's very easy to misplace details.
So all that comes up is a book called The Sword of Shambhala: Mystery of the Return of Christ. I
assume this is not a DC book.
No.
Yeah, this is just.
When I say book, it's like an actual book by Barbara Dominaski.
I'm sure whatever it's going to end up being in the story, though, is probably inspired by whatever it is from that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
well, we'll get more context on that next issue or whatever, I suppose. Then. Yep.
I could have sworn it was some artifact that I've missed, But,
sure. Well, you were worried it was a DC thing, whereas it's got some obscure reference to.
Yep. Instead.
Then we go back to Lady Cop, who's actually. I won't say arrested, but they've brought in one of the kids for the pool incident because the guy said he was going to call the cops.
Yep.
And she's like, "Look, why were you in the guy's pool?" And she's like, "Oh, I just, I got lost." It's like, "And your swimsuit? You got lost in your swimsuit?" And she's like, "Look, I need to go and deal with this printer thing because that's like a running gag from earlier. The printer needs toner, and we don't know why it's not working." And she leaves him alone and says, "Don't touch anything. There's cameras, and you'll get into trouble." And he's like. And the kid's actually quite smart because he's like, they don't have money to like put cameras in every room in the police station.
Not in this town.
Yeah, not a chance. And sure enough, the one thing he picks up is the file on the case that she's building and looking for the killer or their friend. And he sees Starman circled. So now the kids are going to know who the main suspect is. And we happen to know as the audience that it is the correct suspect. This is the guy who did it. So we have this element of the story though where the kids are actually going to want to try and assassinate Starman, which is an insane plot beat, but it's definitely like this exciting thing. If this is issue 3 out of 12, this is not the end of Act 1, but it feels like we're getting like this is like a big bit of setup for what the story is going to be now. Is these kids want to try and like get the guy who killed their friend? This was an exciting moment. Basically as Lady Cop's talking about the printer, we just get like snippets of everyone in the story. We see Jack Ryder on his show talking about stuff. We see Assassin taking apart the gun that was used to try and kill the Green Team kid. We see Manhunter, who did take a bullet to the shoulder, because the Assassin did fire off a shot, and it looks like he actually did hit him. We see the director on set. We see Starman with the Fate helmet. and Orion kind of on his way. It's just kind of, it's that thing that you do at the end of an episode of TV where you cut around everyone
flash
as the narration's happening, and it's like, hey, come back next time because everything's sort of starting to click.
That was the other thing too, is that this is still being narrated by the Helm of Fate.
Yes.
And the character descriptions that we get where it calls Darkseid and Highfather dragons, but calls Creeper and Ogre, calls the Manhunter and Codename Assassin 2 knights, but and what makes them knights is their sworn oaths, not necessarily the upholding of justice, but it's the fact that they've sworn oaths to something.
It's not about good and bad. They don't really care about that. They just care about obeying or whoever they've sworn allegiance to.
Yeah,
and it points out that when they're because they're opposing and they're kind of conflicting because they've both sworn allegiances to someone different. That might cause like everyone better get out of the way because it's going to be devastating. So
and I just like that, and it puts a lot of emphasis on Lady Cop as the princess, but in that she's the most compassionate, like she's the most, like there was a phrase that they used, but I can't remember it right now.
I really like that description of the 2 knights. I will say that the actual descriptions in general are a little bit hit and miss. Maybe it's because I like fantasy, so I don't really care about them described this way. I'm sure thematically it's all relevant and it'll make some sense later as to why he's made this choice. But the 2 knights thing was quite interesting as a way to build in. There was less Creeper in this one, and obviously we looked at the Solicits earlier. It looks like issue 6 is going to be more about the kids than anyone else. So the focus does shift a little bit, but depending on what issue it is. But I'm still enjoying it. I'm still intrigued. It's a little harder to keep all the details together compared to some of his other stories, but I think it's getting easier as it goes because we're getting used to the characters more and more. We're getting to know them better, so we're remembering them better.
I'm starting to remember the Dingbats names, and the fact that we're calling them the Dingbats, or at least I am.
Don't think about it. Low fat, crunch,
non-fat, good looks,
non-fat. That's what it was.
Bananas.
Bananas is one.
Yeah. So, but I don't remember all of them off the top of my head. So, but it's definitely a different kind of Tom King book than something that was, even Rorschach was a little bit more straightforward, even though it was this big sprawling conspiracy mystery. This I still haven't.
I don't know if I feel like Rorschach was less straightforward than because Rorschach was so much going into the backstories and it was constantly jumping around the timeline. Well, I don't know if I agree that was more straightforward. I think that was less straightforward than some of the other stories.
I understood what it was quicker than I have with this, right?
Okay.
And that's what I mean by straightforward. With this, it's this big sprawling narrative.
I would say the Human Target's maybe the most straightforward book he's written. That's not to say that it's not complex in a depth way.
That's a straight up like kind of Norse story.
But it's a straightforward story that's going more or less in order. It's
right. With this one, it's a big sprawling narrative that involves new gods to street urchins, and everyone else in between. And it's I still haven't picked up on the themes and who exactly is the Helm of Fate telling the story to? That's the other thing.
Yeah, so, that might be revealed at the end or near the end. I could see that happening.
God, I just hope it's Detective Chimp and he just like, oh, okay, whatever. I ain't got time for you, Helm of Fate. Like this big sprawling narratives happen, but because they're all a bunch of nobody's really paying attention. I don't know. Hopefully that's not what it is, but it's good. I mean, Fornés' art is on point. Like, somehow makes the new god stuff look just as nice as, or I just put that reverse. But it's all like the street urchin and Lady Cop street level stuff. It looks just as great as the new gods, and that in particular that psychedelic scene that Metron goes on out of Fornés was like, I've never seen Fornés do stuff like that before.
It was very different for sure. I'm digging things. Like the story's getting kind of exciting because like some of the threads are starting to connect up, and like the kids having an idea who killed their friend. The new god's coming because Atlas died. Like all of these things starting to then you've got the Starman and that going to one of the green team. Like all the different threads are starting to link up a little bit more. so it's starting to like feel like it's paying off, and that we're getting it is. I don't know, it's just more exciting. So
Yeah.
but yeah, that's issue 3 of Danger Street, Matt. What are you giving it?
8.5 out of 10.
I'll agree, 8.5. Really solid, making me excited. It's not like the immediate home run that Human Target was, where I was immediately in love with it, but I could see this almost like I feel like there's going to be like a line graph going up the way as we get further and further into it. Is how it feels like to me. Which is kind of like was kind of like a Supergirl actually. Like we didn't love that right away. It was good, but we didn't love it, and then it just got better and better as it went. So. Swamp Thing, Green Hell, issue 2, Jeff Lemire writing with Doug Mankhe on the art. It has been so long since issue 1, at least a year and a half, might even be close to 2 years. I think we checked when it was solicited for issue 2, but it was really good. We loved it when it came out. We praised it basically to the high heavens. Art was phenomenal. It was this dark story of a post-apocalyptic world where it was mostly water, and this little village at the top of a mountain were being extorted by pirates, and when some of the villagers attacked back, the head pirate dude went into the water, and the parliaments, the red, the raw, and the green, basically want to kill the last of the human beings off because they've ruined the world, and the world can only start healing again once all the humans are gone. So they take this prick who's went into the water and is dying as their new avatar, and he becomes this monstrous evil Swamp Thing and started killing everyone. And then the end of the story of issue 1, I'm just recapping this for everyone, is the little girl who's the main character in the story with her father. She goes off with this old guy who's there to protect her to the lighthouse, this little island with a lighthouse on it, and it reveals that Constantine's in there. And when Constantine finds out what's going on, he pulls Swamp Thing, as in Alec Holland Swamp Thing, out of his like heaven that he is. And we see a little bit of that in this issue where he's with Abby, he's with a daughter, and he is pulled out from that. He's pulled out of the real world, and Constantine wants him to fight the evil Swamp Thing, and that's where we left off with the first issue. This issue, follows on from that. Alec, I'll call him Swamp Thing. Swamp Thing is not pleased about this. He wants to go back. He doesn't want to be here. But of course, the little girl is sweet enough, and he's reminded that he wants to save the humans and all that. So we get a kind of traditional story. Yeah, so issue 1 was great. Issue 2 is also pretty great. I'll just get it out the way quickly.
Yeah. A lot, if I remember right, the first one, it felt a lot longer than it was, just because there was a lot of setup and stuff. This one read really quick. For being a bigger book, how many pages is this? About 60? 64?
No, it's only about, I think it was like 48. It's not.
Really? Oh, man, okay. Yeah, this one read pretty quick. I was surprised how quick I got through it. The pace on it was really good, but from the time it starts and we see Alec in his heaven, so to speak, with Tefe and Abby, and you're like, oh, what's going on here? And then the way that he gets pulled out and how crushing that is. And then when he finds out who pulls him out is none other than Constantine. It's just this realization. And
Constantine says that if you kill me, you'll never get back to your your wife and that. So naturally, Swamp Thing's like, you're a bastard. You're just a bastard. Yeah. So Swamp Thing goes to check out what's going on, and we have this monstrous Swamp Thing killing people with his evil mouth and all the rest of it. And we get a fight between them, and it all looks really nice. There's some great 2-page spreads throughout this. And we get more of the parliaments talking, and Swamp Thing talks to the Parliament of Trees, and they're like, hey, like, we let you go, and we chose to let you be free, but now you're interfering, so what the hell are you doing? And he's like, I can't let you do this. And it's like, look, the humans have ruined everything. Like, we're going to take them out and start fresh. So Swamp Thing's like Abby wouldn't be able to live with this if I chose them over saving people. I have to make the hero's choice, even though I want to go back home, even though I want to leave and go back with them. So the little girl ends up like throwing rocks at the evil Swamp Thing and putting herself in danger to save Swamp Thing. The dad ends up whacking him with a hammer as well. So this is a great fight scene. There's great 2-page layouts with back and forth. I love how evil the evil Swamp Thing looks with the big sort of Nemesis style mouth.
Yeah, he's got that, and he's got like these tendrils coming off of him. Like he's just almost like a force of nature versus, like an avatar like Alec is.
Yeah.
He's less human than anything.
And Swamp Thing
and
ends up
that,
stomping on his head to kill him. Although he does tell them, make sure you burn the body because he will come back.
burn it. Yeah, yeah. I also like what the Parliament tells him is like, okay, well, you've made your choice. You're siding with humanity. There'll be no more resurrection, basically. Like,
oh yeah, he's cut off from the powers. Yeah,
you're yeah. So whatever power he has until he's dead. So this is like for keeps. Like Alec can't just like, recklessly throw himself into these situations. So when we see him fight monsters and stuff, there's definitely stakes there.
Yeah, and there's a really sweet moment where the little girl like gets some like seaweed and starts like bandaging Swamp Thing up because he's hurt and he's not healing anymore because he's not got the powers.
And he's still pissed at Constantine.
Yeah, who's disappeared as well, might we add?
Right. Right.
But it's just a sweet moment though. There's a great bit of the art where Swamp Thing kind of smiles because this little girl's helping him. And
well, that's what I was getting at when he said he's still pissed at Constantine, and then the little girl comes over, and you're getting, the way that she's drawn is very similar to Teffy that we had seen in his Paradise. So we're getting the vibes that he's, this little girl is pure, and that she's, kind of the case that he's going to use that humanity's still good and worth saving.
Yeah. So the Parliaments basically grow stuff out, like we see stuff growing out of the head of the bad guy, and they basically say, look, that didn't work. We put all of our effort into this one being. That was a bad idea. We have to like combine our forces. And they basically form, like in the water, an army of these concoctions that are part green, part red, and part rot. So it's like super grotesque stuff, and we get this big army of like monsters coming from the water. It's like a great 2-page layout, it's a 2-page spread, and it's these like ugly ass things where part of them look Swamp Thingy, part of them look rotty, part of them look like flesh. It's this just concoction of everything. They're all working together.
Plant zombies that are coming up out of the water, but they also have this heft and bulk.
It's like they have tumors and they have growths and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So all the forces are combining to take on the last of the humans and Swamp Thing. But Constantine has magically went to the astral plane, and his basement. He's speaking to Dead Man, and he wants to be taken to someone in particular. Well, Swamp Thing starts to fight the monsters, and he's like, I don't know if I can win this, but I'll try. So it's looking, quite poor for him. There's a great 2-page spread again where he's got like a tentacle wrapped around him as he's trying to punch like a monster. There's a lot of great artwork in this issue, much like the first one. So we go to like the Nana Parbat Mountains to wherever Constantine's looking for. There's a lot of animals. There's like a lion, a tiger, all that stuff. And you're sort of trying to like, okay, who's he going to talk? Because he keeps talking about she. Like, we get a her. We notice a her. And then the reveal at the end of the issue is that it's Animal Woman. It's Maxine grown up. And she's like and she's like, what's going on with the red? The red's like acting weird right now. The animals are all scared. So it seems like the ally that Swamp Thing's going to get potentially in issue 3 is Maxine grown up as Animal Woman, which is kind of nuts. So
well, and she's there with the animals, and it's what we get from, because her mom shows up too, right? Her mom's the old woman that stops Constantine and Deadman almost at the gates, and he's like, I'm here to talk to her, and she's like, well, she's not going to get involved because there's only so many few animals left. So to me, that's saying that also, are we sure that she's going to want to join up with Swamp Thing? Exactly. Or maybe they're going to have to,
honestly,
forge.
If they hadn't said Maxine, I wouldn't have thought it was her because her hair's like black. I'm used to her being a little redhead. So obviously she's got the Animal Man logo on her shirt, which is fair enough. But I wouldn't have assumed direct daughter. I would have assumed maybe like descendant or something like further down the line. But so the idea that, because obviously we've had green and red stories before with Animal Man and Swamp Thing, it's a very natural twist to throw in here.
This almost feels like a continuation of Lemire's Animal Man, a little bit.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know?
no, absolutely. That's why this feels so fitting, is because he was writing Animal Man when they were doing that green and red stuff. So it feels like a kind of like a almost the end of the world story, like for his like Animal Man run. Even though Animal Man himself isn't in it. It's an interesting little pivot. I think it's really interesting because obviously that first issue was all these new characters. It was this evil Swamp Thing, and other than the idea of the Parliaments and the green and the red and the rot, it wasn't until the very end of the issue that you got these characters that we knew, and we got the return of the real, proper Swamp Thing. Likewise with this issue, it's hit us with this new character. Well, not new, but like a character we know in some form showing up at the end, and it feels like the most natural fit in the world for where the story's going. Like, it could have been predictable. Admittedly, we didn't predict anything because we didn't remember anything because it's been 2 years since the first issue. But really good stuff. It feels like a natural fit, and I'm excited to see like Maxine and Swamp Thing like sort of team up to take on like these monstrosities in the last issue. Which will hopefully be in a couple of months.
Yes. So I just checked, and also the on sale date for the first issue was December 28th, 2021. So it's been like 14 months in between issues. So hopefully we don't have to wait that long for the next one.
Honestly, I felt longer than that, to be honest.
Yeah?
I felt longer than that.
So, but yeah, I mean, as of right now, we're getting the trade of all 3 in August, so you got to think that 3 is going to be out before then.
Well, the 3 was solicited for, I think, April.
Okay.
Or maybe it was March. It was March or April. I don't know whatever month it was.
Well, yeah. I'm excited to see where this goes.
But to be fair, issue 2 was solicited for whenever a long time ago. So,
that's true.
Skeptical and all that. But, I mean, yeah, it feels like whatever delayed it, maybe it was like something in one of the personal lives of the creators. Maybe Doug Mankhe had something he couldn't draw for a while. I don't know what it was. But regardless, it was nice to finally get issue 2, and it's going to make a hell of a trade when it's done, I suspect. But I love a good Swamp Thing story, and this is a good Swamp Thing story with a lot of horror in it. I think Swamp Thing's at its best when there's like an element of horror and kind of like the forces that are bigger than us, like fighting against us, kind of thing. I'm gonna have to track down the Alan Moore stuff now. Just between the announcement that we got with the movies and the whole Constantine of this, and how much he's part of that Alan Moore run, and like you talked about the horror aspect, I'm gonna have to get there eventually. So there you go. What are you going to give Swamp Thing Green Hell issue 2?
I'm gonna give this a 9.
Yeah, honestly, I can't argue with that. 9 out of 10 for me as well. That was the thing I was looking forward to the most this week, because it was just nice to have it back. And I feel like we've not talked about a Jeff Lemire comic in ages. Yeah,
I can't even tell you the last one that he's done for DC.
He did that Batman Joker one. It was like a 3-issue mini and a 1-shot.
Oh, that's right.
It was a Black Label
about the psychiatrist, right?
Yeah, but that must have been that was probably before the first issue of this.
Killer Smile.
Yeah, that was the one. Killer Smile. Yeah. If Jeff Lemire wants to come back and do something at some point, that'd be lovely. But I get he's doing his indie work and all that. I get it. But I've missed Jeff Lemire at DC. We'll get into the part of the show now. We pick our favorites of the week, favorite panel/moment, favorite cover, favorite art, and top 5 books, or close to 5 as we can get, depending on how many we read. So, panel/moment, Matt, what you got?
Let's see. I like that. I'm gonna go from Danger Street, and it's just the image of Highfather and Darkseid on the dual thrones. Putting aside their differences for this greater cause. That's an image that stirred me.
There's a couple of things in Danger Street I'm tempted to go with, but I think all the monsters coming out of the water in Green Hell is probably what I'm going to pick, though. It just really clicked. Oh, actually, no, maybe the Death of Steph and Batgirls.
That's pretty good too. That was up there too.
Now I'll go with Green Hell, but there's a few that were close. There's a few that were competing, so that's cool. For cover of the week, the variant for Batgirls, which is a Dan Mora cover,
the Dan Mora one's really nice.
It's pretty nice. It feels irrelevant to the issue because it's mainly focusing on Babs, but you know, whatever. The main Swamp Thing cover is great, as is the variant with Swamp Thing underwater, as is the evil looking one from Yannick Paquette, which is the monster.
The Christian Ward one looks nice.
Yeah. Obviously, Danger Street's regular cover looks good. So it's kind of between those for me. I think it's tough. I think I'll probably go with the Ward Swamp Thing cover, the underwater one. I think that's what I'm going with. But it was between those. What you got?
Yeah. I also like there's a Shaner Danger Street cover that's got Metamorpho doing some shenanigans. I like that one a lot. But no, I'm gonna go with the Swamp Thing Green Hell regular cover.
Okay.
Just it's very ominous with Swamp Thing looking over Constantine. And yeah, it's a good one.
All right, art of the week.
Oof, this is tough. This is between Green Hell and Danger Street.
Yeah, they're both excellent art wise.
Yeah. Oof, they're both doing different things too. I'll give it to Swamp Thing on the edge of the monsters looking so scary. Like those are proper monsters.
What's funny is that I think I'm going to just inch towards Fornés for Danger Street, purely just because in Swamp Thing the art is fantastic and it's got so many great money moments. But I did think the first few pages of Swamp Thing and he's like Heaven didn't look as good as the rest of the issue. So just for that, as like a little mark against it, I'm going to pick Danger Street from Fornés. But yeah. And then rank your books.
All right. So number 1 is Swamp Thing Green Hell. Number 2 is Danger Street. Number 3 is Batgirls. Number 4 is WildC.A.T.s. And we didn't rate the Lazarus stuff, so
no. I mean, mine's is basically the same without WildC.A.T.s. It's Swamp Thing Green Hell at number 1, Danger Street at number 2, Batgirls at number 3. And I read a collection of different Lazarus Planet stories, but nothing that I would rank in here because it's all just kind of different parts of different issues. So no, cool. That'll then bring us to just telling you what's coming next week from DC, and it is a more full week. I have 7 books from my count. So we have Nightwing issue 101. We have The Flash 793. We got Batman Superman World's Finest issue 12. Wonder Woman 796. Catwoman 52. We have Superman issue 1. So we got a big issue 1 next week. We have Batman One Bad Day Clayface issue 1. So excited for that. We have Deceased War of the Undead Gods issue 6. We have Lazarus Planet Omega issue 1. So this is actually the conclusion to the 2-part story that starts and ends the Lazarus Planet stuff. So that's obviously a must-read from Wade. We got Black Adam issue 8, Superman Space Age issue 3, Titans United Blood Pact issue 6, Harley Quinn the Animated Series Legion of Bats issue 5, and GCPD The Blue Wall issue 5. So, actually, I think I got 8. I think I didn't count Blue Wall before. So yeah, it's a healthy week next week with the big new issue 1, some big regular ongoing books that we love, and some cool niche stuff like Blue Wall, and yeah. So and the One Bad Day one shot, which is hopefully going to be good. So
that's Zermanico art. That's right. Oh man.
You're like, can I skip this once just to give myself a lighter week?
No, I wasn't gonna skip. I didn't skip any of the other ones, but I was seeing who was on the art because I saw.
Yeah.
It's Kelly and Lansing on the writing duties. So, but yeah, man, if I was still reading Superman Space Age and not waiting for the big trade, this would be a problem week.
Oh yeah, because that's like 100 pages, right?
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah.
But no, we got Superman 1, Nightwing 101, Flash.
I literally just listed all of them. Yes.
No, I know, but those are probably in order what I'm excited for.
Okay.
There, yeah. So, and that's the last issue of Undead Gods, right?
No, it's an 8-issue book.
Oh, that's right. It's not 6. All right.
Yeah, so it's 2 more after that. Yeah.
Cool.
But yeah, which is good because that means it ends before May, which is when a lot of new books start. So that's nice timing. But yeah, so that's pretty much the show. That's Comics from the Multiverse, 344. Of course, you can support everything by supporting us over at patreon.com/MailFuzzTV. You get the show a little bit early whenever it's ready on the Saturday night, whenever it's out of the oven. I also take this time to thank our Patreon producers. Thank you to Tyler Hess, Cindy Palacios, David Sharp, Bornow, Christopher Moy, David Brown, and Al Treisman. And thank you to all of our patrons over at patreon.com/MailFuzzTV. You can, of course, get us on Twitter at mailed_fuzz. No, sorry. Well, that is a real Twitter, but that's not ours. That's at DC Comics Podcast. Yep. Again, no, Twitter's rules are changing. They're going to try charge for 2-factor authentication soon, which might actually be what drives us off it, because F that. But more on that in the coming weeks and months. Yes. So yeah, but of course, share the podcast, rate us 5 stars on the podcast app, usually iTunes or whatever. All these things do help. So thank you very much for joining us. We always appreciate it. Keep reading DC Comics, and remember to never get lost in the Speed Force.